Black House Mud meeting for February 2023. And we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And then we're going to have a 30-second moment of silence. Okay, thank you.
It's also a good time to silence your phones.
Yes, you can silence your phones. Okay, so we're going to start with citizens communication, but one thing, I have 2 housekeeping items I'd like to share with everyone. The first one is when you do, if you're going to do citizens communication, please approach the podium. We have the owls here. We are videoing our meetings. They're recorded. They're not live yet. We're still working on AT&T stuff, but if you stand at the podium, the owl will get you and can hear you. The second item is I want to remind the board and everyone in the audience to keep your chit-chatting, don't. Because if I turn to Sean and talk while someone else is talking, these owls pick up everything. I watched the recording and there were several of those. So try to keep your chit-chatting down to a minimum, if anything. And if you do need to talk, please just go outside. Okay, great. Okay, citizen communication. If you would like to talk to the board, you have 3 minutes and you just need to fill out a form, which is on the table right over there. I have 2 forms here. I don't know if anyone else wants to fill one out, but please do. So we have Steve McMullen.
Oh my goodness, look at that.
I was hiding in the back. So, good to see y'all again. I wanted to commend y'all for opening up Jumano for the residents to dump their brush. I was there several times. I saw Ursula, Lisa, Amy, Robert, and y'all donated a lot of your time. I know that takes a big effort. I do have some constructive criticism as well. This isn't moaning and beating, this is just constructive criticism. I drove around the neighborhood and saw that the sidewalks, the right-of-ways, and the entryway, and then the parks, and I noticed that, after 7 days or longer, I don't really know the exact number of days, but it was just concerning to me that those weren't a priority. I know you'll have a lot of stuff going on, but as the mud, we take on the risk of what happens in our parks, and we're called to maintain the right of ways. So I would just encourage to take that into consideration for future, because we're probably gonna have more storms. And my initial thought was that maybe we're not cleaning up the parks because we wanted to file an insurance claim and we're waiting on an insurance adjuster to come out. I don't know if that's taking place, but I would look into that as well, see if the insurance can take care of some of that cost. But good job on opening up the parks, the Jumano Park for the residents. My second concern is that, do we have any idea yet how much Priority Landscape is gonna, and Certified Arbor is gonna be, what the ballpark is? Because I know that I could hear them from my house, even working on Sundays, mulching, all that stuff. Do we know where we stand on that, a ballpark?
We do,
Okay,
and we'll talk about it. It's on the agenda.
good deal. And then my final question is there any update or status update on the park projects where we got the bond money? Is that moving forward? Is that a standstill? Can y'all comment on that? Is it on the agenda? I don't even know.
It is on the agenda, and yeah, if you want to stick around, you'll hear. We actually are planning a special meeting on March 8th, and that was one of the main topics.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll try to cover that. One other thing for Sean, I used to receive the agenda item via email. I'm not receiving that anymore. If you could please put me back on that list.
Sure. We can do that. Thank you, Stu.
Thank you. I do have my son at home, so I'm gonna take off.
Okay, so just remember, these are recorded, and they'll be posted within 48 hours, so you can watch it and hear what we have to say about
Awesome.
your items.
Thank you for
Thanks,
your
Stu.
comments.
Good to see you.
You too.
Okay, the second one I have is Sandy Martin, and you're speaking as a citizen.
I'm speaking as a citizen. I wanted to say thank you to the Med for the brush cleanup, and I got some mulch, and my puppy loves bringing it all in now. We have a fresh supply, but thank you for doing that, and neighbors helping neighbors carry it over to the Germano Park, and so I just wanted to thank y'all for that. It was gonna be my complaint, but it's two parts. My water bill took 30 days to get here. And so it was kind of making me crazy because this is the second month in a row. And I didn't know what was happening, but my bank tells me that now you will automatically draft out of my account. And in fact did, and I don't know when that was decided, but thank you very much. I'll quit paying late fees. And then and I don't know how many people know that. I mean, I don't know if that's been announced or I just missed it, but I think that's a very positive thing to tell the community that, hey, we don't take it out of your account.
It's been going on for a while, but there is a charge. There's about $2 and something charge for it.
Okay, well, I don't know about that, but it's
I don't have
better
that
than
amount. We
$7,
actually
so
companies always have
14.
that.
So my other thing, and I noticed a bunch of cop cars out, so I'll be very nice. I reviewed the logs that they do for January, and there were only 4 stops for speeding. And we have so much speeding in the neighborhood, it just seems like there would be more warnings to citizens. And so I'm wondering if, those signs that say you're going this fast, is it possible to get those just to, I know on this side of the neighborhood, there's a lot of problems when the buses are out there trying to pick up kids, or I know by the school, the teachers are all, concerned about the speeding cars through the school zone. So I don't know how we do that.
We request it through the sheriff's office.
Okay, well, we need to do that.
Yeah, definitely. We've had a citizen that has expressed concerns on Scottsdale as well. So I'll direct the security subcommittee to work with them and get that in order.
Okay.
Can do that.
Good point, though. Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay,
Sandy.
does anyone else want to talk? Did you guys fill out a form?
Yes, ma'am, right here.
Okay, can you turn it in? Do you mind?
You got it, right? My bad.
Thank you. So this is James Murray.
Yes, ma'am, and
Okay.
Jacob Murray.
Oh, okay.
Hi.
Hey, guys.
We're both residents here in Blockhouse, and we've been servicing y'all's community under Murray Property Specialist, clearing brush and trimming trees. And it has been super beneficial to have that mulching business going. And what we think would be super beneficial for us as well as y'all is if we could have access to that, not just on the weekends, but during weekday hours. That would help us save money for both y'all.
Everybody.
Yeah, for both y'all and us. A lot of places we've been going to, they've been charging for our trailer, it was like $120. And for a lot of y'all without big trailers, it'd be like $25 a pickup truck load. So the ability to have that Jumanji cart open like 24/7 or something close to it, like during all business hours.
We can clear the brush way faster and get it out for everybody.
Cool.
And yeah, so it would save us time going to and back from we've been going like Hutto, Georgetown to drop it off. So it'd save us both time and money, so we in turn pass that on to y'all.
You did pass them on to us then, right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so we've been working a lot in this neighborhood. I don't know if we've done some of y'all's houses, definitely done some of y'all's neighbors, but yeah, we have some posts on next door. Facebook, we also brought business cards, so.
Okay,
but
great.
yeah. Oh, you want some?
Thank you. So this is not necessarily on the agenda, but I'm gonna direct the park subcommittee to maybe meet with you all with the GM and explore options, and then we'll bring it to the board. There's several things we need to consider. It's very costly for us to have it open and to have the mulching going on all the time. And we pay for that through the taxpayer dollars.
Well, the other thing with the mulch is we know a lot of people, especially like the older people in the community, can't bring it from the park to their house. So we would be happy to help with that
Okay,
as much as we could.
great, okay,
I just
thank
wanna
you.
say I-
So we have your contact, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, I saw these gentlemen working every time we opened up Pomona Park. Amy is great friends with them now, they're her buddies. They have really done, I mean, a huge service. to
Yeah, I
this
recognize you guys.
community.
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen, thank you.
No,
Yeah.
thank you guys.
Yeah,
If you guys
definitely.
need help with the mulch, just let us know.
Okay, well, we'll be in touch. Lisa, we have, did you put your phone number on here?
And I've got a
It's right
card as
here.
well.
Okay, okay, yeah.
Well, I
Okay,
admire
thank you guys.
I admire your business-like manner, your professionalism. That's very admirable. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Great job.
Thank you for
Thanks,
coming.
guys.
Okay, so let's, what I'd like to do is get through the consent items, and then we're going to move Nebraska Furniture Mart up to the front of the agenda. So do I have a motion to approve the minutes from January 20th?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Then we'll have discussion,
Yeah, I'd like to discuss really quick.
but I need a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion?
Yeah, one of the things, just going through the detailing of it, and having emailed directors before and not have them read at the meetings. Beverly Stone was not here, but it shows as if she was. And then we've taken a new path where we read an email. I just don't know how, if that's gonna be fair for like reading some emails where we like them and ignoring emails that we don't like. Maybe we can get a policy on that, but for documenting purposes, I'd like to include that Beverly Stone was not present and it was just her email was written and read.
Yeah, I think Director Roberts, did you read her email?
I did, so I
Okay.
agree with that. She
Yeah.
was not in attendance, but she was read, and I think that was noted in here as well.
No, it was noted that she
What
was in
I
attendance.
Might have
Well, I saw
transposed,
somewhere
I
that
think
she's-
Brian Wood testified.
It says
so-
Mrs. Stone addressed. So
Yeah.
it wasn't that, it was Cecilia Roberts read the
Yeah,
email.
let's just clarify that.
Yeah.
Okay, good deal.
Yeah, so, and I think it was Brian Wood, actually, I think those just got transposed.
Was it Brian or David?
No, it's both of those emails. I read
Oh.
both of them.
Okay, okay, we need to clarify that then.
I'll double back on that.
Okay,
Can I make a quick suggestion? Do we want to have a note that if, instead of, we could note who wrote it, but I guess would it be more appropriate to just simply note it was provided and read, like just a written testimonies provided?
well,
That's
I
what I
think,
look
I
at.
think this isn't, our discussion right now is on the minutes, whether
Okay,
they
okay,
are
sorry.
correct or not, but I think what you're saying, what Robert's saying is we need to maybe talk about it on the agenda next time, because I understand you have received a lot of emails today, and we're not gonna read all those. So there's two parts. Let's correct the minutes, and then let's look at how we're going to proceed in the future. on the
Thank
next
you.
Yeah, I was just justifying why I wanted to have it corrected because,
Okay.
you know, her opinion's every bit as important as anybody else's. But how we produce, how we do it, I want to document that for upcoming discussion. Anything else on that
Yeah,
topic? I got
can I
one more.
add to that?
Yes.
So basically, I think that whole paragraph just needs to be rewritten as though it was an email read, not that she stated and things like that. It would be her email referenced or something.
So, yeah, if you look at the previous, I think the names are just wrong. So if you go up to the previous paragraph, it says explicitly, Director Roberts noted she had received an email. And I'm trying to find my minutes here from.
No, but Mr. Wood also had an email as well.
Okay.
All right, we'll let Sean go back and take a look at it and correct it,
Yeah.
and bring it back next month for final approval.
And I'll look at it and give him some edits on it as well.
Does that work for you, Sean?
That's fine.
And then there was another item, it was around 201 minutes, if you go through the recording. I recall there was a comment about backflow preventers being required by the city of Cedar Park. I was not up to date on what that was, but that was not included in the minutes. And I'm just concerned that maybe we need to have a retraction on that. I'm not able to find out if it is or not, but We did say that it's required by the city of Cedar Park, but as I've researched, I can't find anything on that, but that was specifically stated,
It was stated by me.
right?
So it was a policy back then. What I would ask, and this is kind of going offline with minutes, but I think if we just direct the general manager to confirm with the city of Cedar Park to
It's
see
in
if
the
that is,
plumbing code.
yeah, it is a requirement.
If you have sprinklers
Right.
or fire
Right.
or a pool,
Just a-
not necessarily a pool.
Just a
So
normal
it's-
house, it's
Yeah,
not required.
it's not required, and so I think maybe your confusion, because it's not in the minutes, so it's not confusing if somebody reads the minutes, but I think it's confusing if somebody listens to the recording
Right.
and hears that it was stated you have to have it. I did have a conversation with Andrew Hunt, and he clarified that,
Yeah,
so.
so, and that's fine. I mean, I certainly think we need to update our policy and probably let residents know that by communicating
Sure.
that out.
Yeah, good thing. Okay, anything else?
So I guess the
Discussion?
minutes, are we gonna adopt them or we're gonna wait?
We'll bring them back, next month.
Are we able to add it and then put a clarifier in there as well, even though, you know, like when you get deposed and then you incorrectly, you say something and then you send in the edits later? Can we qualify that as it's not necessarily required unless,
So, yeah, I don't have notes on the back foot printer, so, but I have no qualms with updating the minutes. You know, to be sure, these are high level.
Right.
So I've never planned to capture every detail of every conversation that occurs in the meeting. Even with the high level, we're still at 7 pages of single space. But I'm happy to-
so the question is, can we also put in there, like, actually, here's what we've discovered since then?
No, that's not the place in the minutes.
But it'll come
we
up in
can-
the minutes.
but Tonight's meeting
Yeah.
can capture that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The minutes truly capture what happened, and like Sean said, it's high level.
I
But
gotcha.
it's something for us to think about, because not only are people maybe gonna read the minutes, but they're probably gonna watch the recording more. So we wanna clarify, and I think you had a good point, Cecilia, that we'll clarify that. Okay, so, we're not going to approve these minutes, Sean's going to,
I think we can actually redo it. I don't think these are too far off. I do
Okay.
agree. So my notes do indicate at the beginning of them from the last meeting that Director Roberts was reading emails. I just didn't clarify where that stopped and started. So I can rework the Stone paragraph to make it clear, to make it read like the previous paragraph.
Okay.
And then I will also remove from Ms. Stone from attending the meeting. And then we have the clarification from Ms. Martin that she spoke from a neutral perspective about the encouraging residents to attend the meetings at the city.
okay, so.
Can we also make a note that the emails that were read are attached to the minutes? I'd like to make that amendment.
Is that a policy going forward that we always attach?
I don't think we need a policy, it's just a request I'm making.
Well, I think what to Chairwoman Logan's point is that my comment about how we know the email is right, I think if we were gonna change that, we should discuss, I think the point is like, I guess I guess if we're trying to move forward, we have that as a go forward discussion for next meeting, because I think that would be a change in how we're handling the minutes.
No, I understand that, but I do think we're starting to get more communications, so I think in all fairness, you know, if we're gonna have transparency, let's at least let the people see the emails.
Okay, so we'll put that on the agenda for March, and we'll have a discussion, and we'll have a game plan going forward,
Yeah,
okay?
we can figure something
All right,
Yeah.
all in favor of the minutes
Wait,
out. Real quick, are we,
Assuming they're updated as
with the
Sean,
edits
yeah,
from?
okay, so, okay,
Then-
okay.
yeah, I was gonna say, as long as they're edited.
then I'll
Absolutely.
approve that.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, aye. Opposed? No, okay. Thank you.
Can
So
I
we,
give Sean a quick directive, when you edit those, can you send them out to us in advance, besides waiting until the minute? Okay.
but they're already approved, so.
Right.
Okay, so we have Nebraska Furniture Mart here to give a presentation, if you don't mind standing at the podium, and we have you for about 10 minutes.
All right. Thank you for having us out here. I'm Carl Koza with
You know
Violet
what
Crown
that means.
Management.
What
I'm
does
a
it
project, Carl Koza with Violet Crown Management, and we're a project management firm representing Nebraska Furniture Mart. And this is Michael Theone with CEC, the civil engineer for the project. So if you have technical questions, we've got the engineer. Yeah. For those who don't know, the site is the 118-acre property located just west of the HEB Center and east of Blockhouse Road, and then north of New Hope. We understand there's concerns about traffic, noise, light, and utilities. And so we've listened, we've heard you, and we're here to answer questions to the extent that we can. And we will be sensitive to those factors. We have no intention, just to get it out there, of connecting to any of Blockhouse-Mont's utilities. So everything that's gonna be, all the connections are gonna go to the south, to New Hope. So we've already met with the city of Cedar Park, and they've confirmed that there is water capacity. We've met with Pernaus Electric Cooperative, and they've confirmed there's power availability. There's storm facilities in the region that we're going to connect to. And we've talked to all the carriers as far as telecom, and so we're gonna be able to connect to those as well. So,
Okay, so I think all the directors have questions probably. I want to do this in an organized manner, so let's just go around the table. We'll go around 2 times, if that's okay.
If any residents have a question, can we open that up to brief questions?
Why don't we have them make a comment and we'll read their question?
Yes, so if anybody is listening to this and you have a question, please fill out a form and we'll let you stand up.
We'll read that question, or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
we'll allow you to ask a question, these guys.
Yeah, okay. So Director Young, you can go first.
Excellent. I attended the OA session where it was detailed that the trucks would be driving next to the Avenue of the Stars, or the, basically right next to where Black House is. So I think you guys are gonna build a new driveway in there for trucks. And then I looked at the documentation in today's packet, and it doesn't show any of that going on.
Right.
Right? So what is the plan? Is that going to be the drive? And then I got a follow-up question if so.
Sure. So far, all the discussions with the city have been about zoning the property, right? Getting the right appropriate zoning for the use. This potential driveway off of 183A over to the northeast corner of the site is a viable option to keep traffic off of New Hope, which is already heavily used. The details of that driveway are still in flux and it requires lots of negotiation with the current leaseholder of that property, which is Northland. They operate the HEB Center and hold a lease for all that property. The city owns that property, and so we have to work through an agreement with them. The location of that road, the deal on lost parking, there's, landscaping, flat work, you name it, working with CTRMA to get deceleration lanes. None of that has happened yet, right? So it was a concept to mitigate traffic on New Hope.
Okay, so my follow-up is, if that does become the path, would you guys consider the same soundproofing and the same barrier along the entire distance of that area, and not just where you guys are purchasing? Because the trucks are gonna be noisy, and they're gonna be noisy behind your property, but they're gonna be noisy going along it as well. And if we can get a single uniform barrier for sound, that would be appreciated. Like, oh, you live on the good side of the barrier, and we're up all hours of the night.
Like extend your masonry wall through.
Whatever it is,
Texas,
you guys and everybody negotiates, do the full extent, not just part of it, because, I back up to it, I'm only having to deal with when the Texas Stars score here in the morning, that's about it, but opening that up and not doing any sound protection.
No,
would be
it's a
problem.
valid request, and we will certainly, evaluate it. It's city property, so I imagine the city will have a say in how that road is designed, and what features like a wall or other things, whether it's landscaping or a berm or additional trees. I did notice that, the wall along Blockhouse neighborhood that borders off of 183A kind of just stops, and then some of the houses have a great view of the parking lot of HEB Center. And so at a minimum, there would be additional plantings along the north side of that roadway, if that roadway happens. But, as far as the wall and any other features, it's to be determined, and we'll look into it.
Great, thank you. So you'll have another chance, Robert, if something
I'm
comes
good,
up.
I'm good.
Okay, Director Roberts.
Hi, thank you for being here. So I did listen to some of the HOA videos, the recording. But my concern is this: obviously, you're gonna have those trucks, are they a delivery at night?
I don't believe they're limited to 8 to 5, but
All right, so that means that they will be operating at night.
I believe so.
So you're gonna have that beep, 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 beep?
I don't know that these trucks have that feature.
Beep,
Okay.
They
So, I
only
mean-
go forward then, what you're saying? Because like, they all have to beep when they go backwards.
Well,
I mean, you have to consider the fact that our quality of life is about to be interrupted. First of all, you're bringing more traffic, and I know you own the land, so we can't really control a lot of it, and you're pretty much gonna go forward with this probably more than likely. But I would like for you to listen to what we are asking you to consider and take it very seriously.
Yeah, I think they are.
Because we've got homes that are families that have invested in this neighborhood. So the quality and their price values could decline immensely. And I don't know if you recognize that or not, but I'm a real estate agent, so I do know it will impact that. So I think what I'm also very concerned about is I see you've got a 40-foot and a 10-foot height on the fence. But I heard the other night at city council that may be shortened.
the wall will be 10 feet. The buffer, the dedicated buffer area, which is from the property line to the wall, is 30 feet. But we have demonstrated through our exhibit that we showed at that hearing, that we have an additional 10 feet where no operational traffic is planned, right? So this is gonna be a grassy area that is also a stormwater feature potentially.
Okay.
And so there's not gonna be trucks driving within 40 feet, within the typical cross
So
section.
you're going to stay with the 40 feet.
Well, I want to be clear that a 40-foot buffer would imply a 40-foot dedicated vegetated area between the property boundary and the wall. And what we've committed to is a 30-foot plus a 10-foot area green strip where there's no operational traffic planned. Now, there will be maintenance in both areas, right? We have to pick up trash and mow and all these things, and there's stormwater quality features, so they'll need to be maintained there as well.
So we also are responsible for the MS4 permits. So I just want to make sure we don't get an influx here, you have to cooperate with us on our part of our responsibility with MS4. So, and that means that loader, because this is actually a US waterway creek, so it never dries, it's constant, am I correct, David?
It's constant flow, it
Yes.
has groundwater that goes in the blockhouse.
It never dries.
It's obviously a FEMA floodplain, it's a blue line, all those things that down in flood. Is the
So-
10 feet you're talking about a vegetated filter strip, you're talking about in addition to the 30-foot?
It's a 30-foot undisturbed buffer.
Yeah.
That is essentially a 10-foot parking or traffic setback on that.
Okay,
Within that 10 feet, we're gonna do a water quality measure to clean the water.
that's what I was
For
wondering,
state
you're doing a
requirements.
vegetated filter strip. and
10 feet won't be enough. Those need
These are 15
length.
foot.
Yeah, they need length. 10 feet, you'd probably be a rain garden.
Okay.
You've seen those around town?
Yeah.
Probably be a rain
Thank you.
garden or some sort of.
Yeah, no, thank you, David. That's great questions.
So,
Director Shoemaker.
oh,
Yeah.
I wasn't quite through, but,
Well, I'm trying to do
Okay.
2 questions, and you'll get another chance.
all right, thank you.
So building on Director Roberts' question about the maintenance of the strip, that's one of the concerns. I spoke at the last Cedar Park City Council meeting in my private capacity as president of the neighborhood, is that, presently, the property line is a barbed wire fence and brush along it, right? So there really is no buffer between the back fences of our neighborhood or Creek Run, essentially beyond the easement, and the property. Now there's going to be a masonry wall, 30 feet, and then our stuff will start. And I guess, my biggest concern is obviously, this is not a knock at y'all, but companies change hands, developers get bought out, properties get sold, right? What can we do? Well, I'll be honest, Warren Buffett will not live forever. Someone else will own Berkshire Hathaway in our lifetimes, likely, right? And so my big concern from our end of the neighborhood is how we ensure that buffer strip is always gonna be adequately maintained. Y'all wanna be good corporate citizens, but, we can't guarantee you'll be there in 50 or 100 years, right? The neighborhood's gonna be here a long time. So I guess can you speak to if y'all manage this kind of buffer strip with other properties, how that's been dealt with, what y'all do to make agreements with folks to kind of, make sure that someone will always have the ability to maintain it, or do y'all run as an easement? What do y'all do with that?
So I can't speak too much to the Nebraska Furniture Mart's operational practices, right? I'm more representing the construction project. However, my visit to their other location in the colony near Dallas is impeccably maintained. The family, I'm walking with the family that is the Blunken family, and they're picking up trash themselves off, like a twist tie or a bottle cap that a visitor had left. The place is immaculate. I mean, if you've ever been to Disneyland or Disney World, it's just a very well-kept facility that is very similar. They are not like other developments in the area where they build them, they get some lease revenue, and then they sell them to a REIT, and they move on, and then you see a sign out there that says managed by so-and-so, and there's trash blowing in the wind and all that. That's not how this operator will be. It's a family-owned business, an operator business. They will own this facility for life.
And so NFM is the primary owner?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else?
Well, I'll have a second,
Okay.
So.
Okay, so 2 comments. So as you know, I was at the city council meeting, and so planning and zoning, so you all came out and said 8 feet for the wall, 30 feet for the buffer. And the city came back and said 10 feet for the wall, 40 feet for the buffer. And you all came back and said, we'll do the 10 feet, but we're not gonna do the 40. And then the Mayor Pro Tem asked, what's the big difference between that 10 feet? And it is, what I heard you all say is that if you give us the 10 feet for Blockhouse, you're actually gonna take 10 feet away from town center. That's what y'all said. Yeah, it's 10 feet closer to town center.
It squeezes the.
Right, you have New Hope there, and this is a big difference between the impact on Blockhouse as far as noise and sound delivery and the impact on town center. So, I'll be there tomorrow night. I'm going to bring this up again.
Sure.
I don't know what the golden number is, if it's 30, 40 or whatever, but I think it's important, and it didn't sit well with me. You're trying to appease town center and not Blockhouse. Okay, so my second thing is, and I think this is important, I understand you all sent some communications out to the residents that live along House Creek and a couple other streets. And in the packet, and I would encourage all residents to go and look at the city council packet, because there's a lot of information on there. And actually, a lot of it was good. I understood, a little bit better where you all are coming from. But you have this whole part about how you communicated with Town Center and Blockhouse. And I felt like it was a little misleading, how many residents showed up and how many people you talked to. The truth is, we have 2,100 homes here in Blockhouse. We're all gonna be impacted by this, not just the houses on House Creek and wherever you are, Robert, Big Falls or Snelling. So I would request, and again, I'll say this tomorrow, if there's going to be additional communication, please send it to our entire group, our residents, because we are gonna be impacted by the light noise, the sound noise, and the traffic flow. People already use Blockhouse as a cut through, and this is just gonna increase that. So that's just a request, if you could make sure we're all, and especially the mud board, but every resident should have that communication. Okay? Thank you. Director Young.
I'm good.
Dr. Roberts.
Yes, sorry, making my own notes here. So in the Colony, I know you're proud of that, and it sounds like it's been a superb event. How close to residential neighborhood is it?
I don't have that figured off the top of my head, but there is, I believe to the north, there's a railroad track. It's a freight rail, it's not commuter rail. And then directly on the other side of that is a well-established neighborhood that's, I would say, pretty upscale. And they have not seen a direct reduction in their property values since the opening of the store, from what I've been told.
It's also currently around retail anyway. It was already established, I think. So now the convention center. And so y'all part of that program, is that an economic development incentive?
It is.
All right, so what kind of incentive are you getting?
So part of the Chapter 351 incentive program requires that, I'm not a land use attorney and I'm not an expert in incentives, but my understanding is that by providing a much needed convention center, which is 30,000 square feet, adjacent to a hotel of 250 keys, and touching the property line of a sales tax generating property, there are incentives associated with that.
Director Roberts, I can answer a little more clarity about this. I've dealt with this over before. The Chapter 351 incentive, at least it is a provision that has a set of provisions and statute outlining the size, the type of hotel. I think what they're calling generally comports, and I think it requires the hotel to physically touch the property, one of the properties during sales tax in the development. But the key upshot is within 1,000-foot radius, once the property is constructed and qualifies, it's eligible for 10 years of state, hotel, and sales and mixed beverage tax rebates. So
The city, right?
the city will get it, but it's
Right.
state, so for example, like Cedar Park has a 2% sales tax. So the project would get the state's 6% as a rebate for everything raised within 1,000-foot radius.
Yeah.
The state's, 8.25 mixed beverage tax, plus the state hotel tax raised at the hotel. And my understanding is the hotel in the Colony has not been built yet.
That's, I don't think it was part of,
And I'm just asking,
I don't believe so.
Okay.
And I don't know that.
I know that when you're not developing, I was just
Right.
asking, you mentioned like I didn't know if it had been built, so.
I mean, there was a public flyer that was issued a few years ago now that mentioned the jobs created and the public improvements that would be part of this as well. So a big part of this project is to do a traffic study and to improve roadways in the area to mitigate any increase in traffic.
That was my final question, was gonna be the improvements to New Hope, and how are you gonna address the traffic that's already jammed up? Because when they have graduations, I mean, it's just, for those of us who have to live here, it's like, oh my gosh, can't even get out of the neighborhood.
Right, so we've hired a very reputable traffic planner and consultant. We've already coordinated with CTRMA, we've coordinated with the city.
Why CTRMA?
Well,
I know it's 1A3A, but why on New Hope?
the intersection of CTRMA and New Hope. If, for example, you created so much traffic in New Hope that it backed up off ramp, then CTRMA would lose toll revenue. So we must speak with them and make sure that their revenue authority, I think they have a committee, and we need to demonstrate to them that we are not going to impede their tollways. So we're coordinating closely with CTRMA, the city of Cedar Park, and we're gonna make sure that the level of traffic after this project is completed is not worse, and that in many cases it may be better.
Okay, all right, that's good. That's really all I need. I probably have some more, but I might just get your phone numbers and chat with you later.
Can I,
Director Shoemaker.
can I build real quick on the question, and I have a two-part after that, but they're really, are y'all getting chapter 312 tax abatements, do you know, property tax abatements in the city, reinvestment zone?
I have to defer.
Okay, I was just curious, because usually that kind of pairs. The two-parter I've got is, I noticed in the part packet from the Cedar Park City Council, Rieger Holdings, that owns the property between y'all's western boundary and Blockhouse, asked about, they wanted the omission of the buffer requirement along the west boundary to facilitate coordination and access. And I was looking at y'all's site map, and y'all got, I couldn't tell if y'all had the buffer there, but I noticed on that west side, y'all got two things of luxury apartments, I guess. The question I've got is, one, do you support that request of theirs, or do you want to have the buffer on the west side as well? And then two, how big are those luxury apartments, how many units y'all thinking of putting in?
1,300 max, over 25 acres max. That makes sense.
Well, I mean, I got the max, but I was reading the stuff in there, and like the max unit seemed kind of small if you put all of them in, like.
Yeah, I mean, 1,300, that's as much as we can put down for the entitlement. But we may not even put any.
Okay, I was curious if that was an integral part of the plan, but I guess then, are y'all supporting that? Are y'all gonna support the request to remove the buffer on the west?
And we both spent a lot of time reading the ordinance. As we understand it, these buffers and these vegetative strips are all supposed to separate a property use of one level of
compatibility.
Right, it's supposed to imply compatibility. So by removing that buffer, that would imply that both properties are compatible, right? Similar uses, similar types, lots of interface between the two, and pedestrian corridors between the two. There's potential that folks could be staying on that property and navigate on foot over to see a show at HEB Center, right, for example. And so if there's this huge buffer strip bisecting that pedestrian way, that would be an impediment. So for that scenario, it would be a viable option to remove that buffer.
Okay, anything else?
I think that's it for now.
Okay, so I do want to share, I've heard this from Director Roberts and others, when you talk about the pedestrians, like maybe coming over from the apartments, we are a MUD, our parks are private, and so we are concerned about people coming in. So that is a very big concern. I mentioned the other night at the city council meeting that we have dealt with HEB Center coming in and the hotspot, and they've been great corporate neighbors. We didn't think of some things beforehand, but after they were built, we were able to get them to dim the lights on their marquee. Hotspots spent $8 million to improve the sound. So I guess I'm just gonna say this out loud, reporting in front of residents, that I hope that you all will be the same corporate neighbor that wants to work together, because it's going to be developed, but let's just make it work for both sides.
And we're gonna be impacted more than Cedar Park, who you're gonna be, moving into. We're gonna get the noise and the traffic.
I will say, the city staff have been very cognizant of this, and they're here to, even though they don't technically represent you, they've represented you quite well, and they've held us to stick to our commitments, which is to do a photometric study to make sure there's no light bleed, not some light bleed, but no light bleed, right? And we're taking all the other precautions to make sure that.
Thank
May
you.
I add one comment?
Real
to
quick,
what you
because
said?
we are running late.
So if the apartments do occur, which I hope they don't, I don't think there's any need for them personally, but my comment is this: would y'all make sure and just hold on to this, that they build the amenities for those residents to stay on their property? That would probably detour a little bit of it from here, but anyway, just, I know we can't, lock down everything, but.
Okay. Do we have any citizens that would like to submit a question? No? Okay, so for anybody watching or anybody in the audience, if you do have any questions, I would suggest that you send them to the city council in Cedar Park. The second reading is tomorrow night, and the truth is, you can combine second reading and third reading, so tomorrow night might be the final on the zoning, planning and zoning, and then you're gonna go on to the site plan. And it's so important tomorrow night that Blockhouse is heard, because whatever we can get in writing on the, tomorrow night, we can hold the council to that. If it goes to the site plan, the city council doesn't vote on that, so we cannot hold them to anything. So I think I'm encouraged that we can work together, but I want our residents to know how important it is.
Director Logan, you know what time that meeting is tomorrow?
It's usually around six or
Okay,
seven.
this is
Yeah.
we may look that up.
You can sign up for citizens communication.
Yeah, we did, we
Yes.
did.
Yeah, but I do want to thank y'all for taking the time to come and
Thank you.
chat with us and
Yeah.
allowing us to kind of throw these questions at you and giving us the responses. Consideration for the quality of life for Blockhouse is very, very important.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.
See you guys tomorrow night.
Appreciate it. Thank you for taking our
All right,
questions.
have a good
Okay,
day.
we're gonna move.
And then the Easter celebration is new this year. It's a month before Easter, but it was the time that we could do this. So I'd like to get approval from y'all if the park is not already reserved. And then if you have any questions or can approve these later, the rest of them, I'm happy with whatever you do.
I'm gonna make a motion that we approve March 18th, since they need the deadline taken care of there.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? I personally love this event, do you know?
Yes.
So, and I am so excited you're gonna bring back the Easter egg hunt. That was a
Me
huge
too.
hit.
Yeah.
And I'll work with you guys on some issues that we had in the past. Okay, everyone in favor?
So we're discussing, right?
Yeah.
Are we just carving out one approval and then we'll talk about approval of the rest of the ones, or?
Because we don't have the parks.
Okay, so once we get the parks, then we'll
Do
do
you
that.
want to go ahead and do Shred Day since it's usually at Hamana, contingent
It's
upon?
actually Tonkawa.
Tonkawa, okay. Do you want to go ahead and approve that one?
That would be fine, and then I have a question as to whether or not y'all are gonna do the garage sale the second week of April and the large item drop off. The third week of April is typically when you do it.
I think we probably need to talk about that.
Yeah, that
So I'll amend my motion to add April the 1st, the Shred Day.
Okay.
And these, both are being held in Tonkawa.
Okay, I'll second your amended motion.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, passes?
And is it Robert and I on OA subcommittee? I mean, I think we.
I know I'm on it, but
I think I got an invitation, so we'll just talk a little bit more later.
Okay,
With Lisa, we'll coordinate that.
okay, thank you.
Thanks, Sandy. Okay, moving on, report from Williamson County Sheriff.
How y'all doing?
Good.
So, nothing real major to report. The only two things, really, is that one of our guys, got hurt recently at work. So, he tore his either ACL or MCL, he's gonna be out for 6 months to a year.
Oh, my goodness.
So, I'm trying to work with that. Another one is getting promoted here pretty soon, and in his job description that he's going to, he's not allowed to work extra jobs. So, I'm gonna have to find 2 more people to take their spots. And I was talking with Sean a little bit, I don't know if there's a fee associated with direct deposit, and if I would need to remove Riley until he's able to return and bring somebody else on, like you good? Okay, because I was thinking about bringing 2 people on, but not replacing Riley, like kicking him off of it, just having somebody cover him until.
He's taking a sabbatical.
Yeah.
So there's not a fee for Wilco to have direct deposit, but there would be a fee for the directors to have direct deposit?
So it's different, yes, it's different. So that is through a software. We're currently just paying them direct deposit through First Citizens.
Okay.
So we still have to do all of their W-2s and all of that. If we use a payroll processing service, all of that would be done by the payroll processing.
Thank you for clarifying that. Okay, sorry. Continue.
The only other thing is the other morning when I was working, I guess it was around 4 AM. I don't know if it was done on purpose, like as in your parks people did it, but there was caution tape that was holding the tennis court open and a rock in front of it, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I cut caution tape, moved the rock, put it back up there.
Oh, my.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great.
I just wanted to make sure I wasn't doing it, because I don't know if the actual, key fob thing, it wasn't lighting up red, so I didn't know if it was broken and they kept it open, but obviously I didn't wanna call you at 4 o'clock in the morning either. So I was like, I'll just go ahead and close it up.
Thank you.
So.
Great.
That's about it.
I would like to direct the subcommittee to work with you all on maybe some speeding, I don't want to use the word trap, but some zones if we
Oh,
could.
yes, okay, so yeah, I wrote those down. Every Monday I try to work Monday mornings, so that way I can do the school zones, and then obviously just come over here, make sure the parks are all closed and everything like that. We do have a rotating traffic schedule that comes out and does school zones in all, neighborhoods. It's just, luck of the draw, there's only so many deputies for so many school zones, and they try to rotate. But I'll talk to my guys about making sure they get out here and run traffic.
Yeah, in addition to the school zone, we've heard Scottsdale is
Yeah.
really bad. I mean, I didn't notice, I've been speeding down Scottsdale.
Yeah.
So since Yuri came in and spoke to us, I've been trying to make a conscious effort, but then people are right on my tail, so.
I think it's 25, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 25. The only problem is there's no real place for us to set up because the whatchamacallit is so short,
But even if
block
they
lane.
see you,
yeah,
if they just see you.
yeah, they'll definitely slow down.
I definitely slow down when I see you, so. So, okay, Director Young, looks like you had a question.
I got a question. We are about to have a Parks Rule, meeting coming up. I don't know if it's gonna be pleasant or not, but, one of the intentions is, Director Shoemaker, made a point of, we're gonna try and align the rules with what's being enforced. And, I'm thinking, I gave you a heads up earlier, like I'd like to know what all you're enforcing. If there's a jogger in Tonkawa at 2 AM, are they shuttled out, are they asked to go, or, different things. I'm wondering if we can get, when you get a new officer doing patrols and you give them the rundown on like, hey, this is okay, this is not okay, can we get a list of that? And then when we get to that park rules meeting, we can adjust what your either our rules or ask you to enforce something different. I'd appreciate a little bit more detail so that somebody jogging in Tonkawa, at 6 PM while it's dark, is acceptable, whereas, doing that at 3 AM is not acceptable.
Yeah.
Kind of just, so we can line everything up. So I guess that's more of an ask, and we don't necessarily need to do it, you know, like right now, but if we can get that list of enforceables.
So I would like to direct the deputy to work with the subcommittee.
Okay.
And if you guys can meet before our March 8th special meeting,
Yeah,
that would be great, so
probably
they have a
fine.
better understanding.
Yeah.
Great, thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, and one more thing, we don't have like a list of stuff, we just have them write out with the deputy, we explain all the rules and stuff like that. And then usually we just tell them, you know, use your judgment. If we did catch somebody at 2:30 running, even if they're not doing something egregious, we would probably still tell them to leave, and it's mostly because of their safety. Because at 2:30 in the morning, not a lot of good people are out at that time, and they could be attacked. It's dark in all your parks because there's no lights. We wouldn't find them until the morning. So,
Yeah. Good point.
Good comment.
Thank you. Okay.
Do you mind if I jump in here?
Oh, sure. Sean has a question.
Board members, Deputy Lovato and I chatted before the meeting about the guys rolling off. And so just as a reminder, historically, we contracted with the sheriff's office for the provision of their services within the district, and the deputies. And that changed systemically late last fall, where you now have individual contracts with each of the deputies. We intentionally have a very flexible termination provision that goes both ways in these agreements to account for the situation that Deputy Lovato is describing. What we really didn't talk about was how that procedure would work with the board in terms of bringing new contracted parties on, basically new members to your police presence here. So what one of my neighboring districts has done that also contracts with the Williams County deputies is they are just, as opposed to bringing the new contract on to every board meeting, basically we will ask Deputy Lovato to get a formal termination email, send it to our office to confirm that we have one person rolling off, and then we'll work with Deputy Lovato to get the new agreements executed and then executed by the board president. So that would just be the procedure, and if y'all are okay with that, that's how I would recommend proceeding. And then that way we can make sure we know who's coming and who's going, and then work with the WCSO folks just to have the executed agreements on file.
That sounds good. I just want to make sure that you loop Lisa in because
Yeah.
she.
Oh, absolutely,
knows
yeah.
things. Okay.
And typically, we've done that before, just the requirement now is the signed document, so.
Yeah, exactly. So this would have
Yeah.
been seamless before. You
Yeah,
probably
it's not
brought
been an
people
issue.
on pretty, I know you do a great job of signposting who's coming on and who's coming off, and your predecessor as well. But this is just now that we officially contract with the deputies individually, we just need to, it's a different form of tracking, a little bit of formality to it. But this policy just allows us to be seamless in terms of how we do it.
Okay.
Thanks, good, thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
yep, no problem.
Okay, so let's move on to number 6.
Director Logan,
Yes.
we actually missed item number 2 on the agenda. David Wood with Codemaster Pack 171.
Oh my gosh, thank you for pointing that out.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, David.
He is smiling kindly the whole
I know,
time.
oh my gosh, you should have like thrown something at me.
After I had it circled.
Thank you for your time this evening. I've submitted a memo for an event that we'd like to get either approval or conditional approval based on what's going on with parks right now. So right now, I work with the membership group with the North Shore District. So North Shore District is a division of the larger Scouts BSA organization that covers most of the Leander ISD area. And what we'd like to do is have a community event across the parks of Blockhouse Creek. I kind of put in there some logistics and stuff as well, having like a main station where folks would gather and get all the information, stuff like that, here in Tomlinson. And then we'd set up a geocaching type of a situation across the parks. So we would target, or it would be for anyone who'd like to attend, right? And it would be primarily geared towards kids K through 5th as kind of a beginner course, and then 6 through 12 is more an advanced course. And this would also, the course we're looking at doing would cover about a mile, so across the various parks. And we did a similar type of activity back in September. We had probably about 50 or so kids come out, so less than like for the neighborhood camp out.
Yeah.
So yeah, this wouldn't be a massive type of a gathering, and any type of impact on the parks would be pretty minimal, just folks going through. So here to answer any questions you might have, and I don't know if you have a chance.
Yeah, thank you. So you're looking at April 22nd?
Correct.
Okay, so I noticed that we already have an April 22nd Eco Fair.
Eco Fair.
Eco Fair. Yeah, there's no H in there. we need to kind of see how that would impact it. Also, directors, if you didn't see it, he did send the email over earlier today, but there's also a paper copy here. I'm gonna go around okay, I'm gonna go around the table and everybody can ask a question. Director Roberts.
Yeah, so.
No, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
So basically, it's a one-day event. Okay, so the geocaching, it's done when that day's over?
Correct.
Okay, so there's no lingering weeks later?
No, so effectively, the 9 to 4 period would encompass setup and tear down. So we would, beforehand, we'd identify where we're gonna put things. Ideally, they're gonna be small and out of the way, so no one should really notice them. And then we go afterwards to pick everything up.
Okay, so, would there be another option for another day if April 22nd doesn't work?
We're happy to take it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Oh, I just had the one question, because I think this sounds like an excellent event. Actually, I have two questions real quick. So the first one I was gonna ask is, basically, are y'all looking to, can't get the word out, using the trail along the creek, the green belt for some of the more advanced stuff? I was reading through your memo, and was talking about like an advanced 6th through 12th, right? Or can you just elaborate a little bit more about that?
Yes, so basically we have stations set up in the different parks. We could do something like along the green belt as well. We haven't put together the actual course yet, because it's more for approval first.
Gotcha.
We don't get approval, we can't put the course together. But yes, yeah, we could take a look at, if there are areas you want to stay away from, or areas you think we should include, we'll definitely take a look at that.
I guess the two-parter is, when is y'all's deadline, what is your lead time? Like, when do we have to give you approval for y'all to execute, like 30 days, 60 days?
30 days would be great, just so that we can get the word out to our other packs and troops, make sure folks have enough time to plan for it.
And that was my follow-up, was like, I assume this is like, y'all are reaching other packs and troops in the area. It's like, my son's in like 405 in Georgetown, right? So like, they do kind of be on their calendar as well.
Georgetown, I think, is a different district.
Different district, okay.
So, I have to look.
Move your kids over here.
We love that one.
Okay, anything else, Director Shoemaker?
That's it, thank you.
Okay, Director Young.
So I'm a big fan of Mono Park out back, and as a former Boy Scout.
As are we.
Like, have you considered, if there's a conflict, do we maybe want to relocate over to Mono Park?
Happy to, yeah.
Is that something possible?
Absolutely.
That would be challenging. Yeah, good one.
Yeah, it'd be really.
Boy Scouts will be prepared, I guarantee it.
I'm telling you, that would be a good one.
The only reason I thought Tumblison first, just because it's kind of a little easier for folks to find. But yeah, if Jumano would be better, we're happy to set up.
Maybe do the kindergarten here.
Potentially, yeah.
Their first challenge would be to find the park.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah, it is
so,
orienteering, so.
are you done?
So, no, I'll let you ask your question, but just, so that's also a possibility. My other item would be to, I'm hoping that we get newsletter going soon. And can we add this as an item on the newsletter that goes out to the residents, that there's going to be this event, and so that they can sign up, and we'll get some contact info to reach out. And there might be some other scouts from other troops that want to jump in.
And we'll have material made up, collateral made up for this as well. So we can provide that once we have, the approvals and all that stuff, we can put all together and provide that as well.
Great, yeah, we can put on the e-sign and such. Okay, so my question is, one, I'm glad it's in April, because we are still cleaning up some of our trees and such, so I think we'll be in good shape by then. And having worked for the Boy Scouts in my former life, for a council actually, you are insured, right?
Correct.
So the event will be insured.
We're
if
very
anything
insured.
Yeah,
Liability
I knew
forms.
that, yeah.
And you'll require liability forms.
Yeah, typically, for most events, we would sign like a release of liability for the park or the place that we're working with.
Okay, so I would like to see if we can get a motion.
Can I ask one more question? So it's wonderful that you do this, and the scouts have been in Blockhouse over the years doing special projects.
Almost 35 years, yeah.
Yeah, so would y'all be wanting to do little special projects?
It's in the memo
I
as
saw
well.
that,
So,
yeah.
if there are other special projects, let us know. We felt like it coincides with Earth Day, or if it's a different date, then it won't, but that's okay.
Perfect.
But we would supply like trash bags or collection bags for everyone to take along with them as we go through the.
Excellent. Thank
Great,
you.
okay, so, I wanna see if we can just go ahead and approve this and direct the GM to work with you as far as the dates and work with the OA. So,
You have a motion.
I'm sorry, Cindy?
Motion to approve.
Cindy?
Can I, what we're talking about is just a little area over here under the trees.
Okay,
It's not very big, I don't think we'd be in the way, but
okay,
that's the only area we're talking about.
okay, so, the motion is
To approve. On the April 22nd.
to work with the GM and to make sure we work out all the details. Do I have a second?
To get the liability form signed.
Do I have a second?
Yes.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have 2 seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, and I'd like to, if you'd care to do a tour of Humano Park, some of the
We're there all the
sites and
time,
stuff,
yeah.
okay.
They know very
The
well.
other side as well, because there's quite a bit over there.
Yeah, we work, like, we take the kids through all the trails and everything over there as well, under, like, all the way from, you know, one bridge to the other end of the creek and all that stuff.
Okay, great.
Thank you,
We
David.
use them,
I'm sorry I overlooked you on the agenda.
oh, no problem, it was very interesting to see.
Okay, thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening.
Thank you.
Okay, number 6, report from Communication Subcommittee. Do we have anything under A, special events?
I don't have anything for special events besides the items that have just been brought up.
Okay, B, newsletter. Do we have anything on that?
I have nothing on the newsletter at
Okay.
all right now.
So your plate has been extremely full, and I will speak to that in a little bit, but I'm just gonna ask that the subcommittee work with you and let's get one out pretty soon. And it'd actually be really cool if we can get some stats from Trip and Certified Arbor on how much we actually did clean up. I think that would be kind of, I know Austin's been able to put that together. Okay, number C, or letter C, district social media policy. So the red line is in the packet. Sean did send around the clean version. I hope everyone's read it, and do we have any additional comments? We'll go around the table. Director Shoemaker.
I have no comments, so.
Okay, Director Roberts.
Yes, we're referencing some of the edits here, and I'm just going off what I noted. Like, we are first person, and we are not first person in a district policy. So could we change the language where it references the board instead of you and me and I? Because that's kind of how it's being worded, very
I thought we
personal.
brought that up last time, and is that in the clean copy?
I don't know, I'm using the draft that was in
Okay,
the
yeah, he sent
packet.
an email yesterday. on the clean
But I
copy.
didn't think anything changed from this, correct, Sean?
Changed from,
From the.
correct,
in
the clean copy just represents,
All
the integrated comments that.
Yeah, the concern I have is, first of all, is when we're talking about, clearly today, the boundaries between professional and personal social media activity is often blurred. I don't know that that's necessary, and even if you're posting in what you believe to be a personal capacity, it may be relative. So I don't like the fact that we're referencing you when we are basically a board, and it's an it.
Paragraph does seem to be
It's
out
too
of place with the rest of the document.
Actually, I put that sentence in there, and I think it should be up earlier in the policy, but we can rewrite it. But I think it is important to note that times have changed. And-
Yeah, and the other concern I have is, I don't think any board member should be posting on any social media, even in personal capacity, that's promoting anything on the MUD, or any activity that's going on the MUD. So how
That's
can
not
we-
in the policy, so
But
if
we
you wanna
can
write
add
that
it.
in,
Yeah, so.
then
I'd like
write it
to
in
add
and then
that.
we'll vote on it.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
to be sure, if I could point out the language in question, there is, below the, where Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube are listed, there is the paragraph that Director Roberts just referenced, and then there is alternative language from Director Johnson below, so I think we could choose one
Yeah.
or the other.
Yeah, and Johnson's is fine, yeah.
Yeah, and my addition would be that no board member should be posting anything on any network or any social media sites regarding any promotion of anything in the activity or any comments about activity that the MUD is doing.
Okay, you need to submit
Even
that,
on a personal note.
you need to submit it, and then we'll vote on it.
I wanna take your side on this, Cecilia, but I think I would prefer to get a case and, you know, like, basically, if Director Smith says this on there and why that's confusing, or why that's a negative, but.
Well, I think my argument is this, simply, it doesn't matter if you go in and post something personally, you're still on the MUD board and people will perceive you as a director.
but you still are a resident.
I understand
And
that, but when we're officers of the district, any comments that are made, I mean, I don't go on next door, I don't make any comments on it.
I did, you probably saw it the other day.
No, I don't
Yeah.
see it at all, because I don't see your
Yeah,
post.
but I put, I'm writing this as
But
a
that's where.
resident, not
yeah.
a director.
But I don't think that, in all fairness, that two board members should have a selective opportunity to do that. I
Anybody
think-
could do that, all of us
But
could do
we
it
could
as
end
a
up in a
resident,
walking quorum.
not if you're a resident.
Sean, I'm asking for legal. If I got in on the same page they're on and made comments about things going on, is that a walking quorum?
If y'all are deliberating issues, yes, but I don't think, unless
they're
you're deliberating.
fully public.
Yeah, I didn't deliberate an issue, I said, that, no, Roberts, let me say this. What I said was, because I think it's important, because I think you could have responded to it. Somebody from Blockhouse was asking a question about cleanup. And I said, please go to the Facebook page and the website, you will see how we prioritize something. I didn't deliberate anything, I was giving them information. And you could have come back right
By
behind
the
me
way,
and said the same thing.
I just had somebody sharing it with me. I don't see your post at
So
all.
you
So
did-
it's not about personal. I'm not trying to make this a personal deal at all. I'm trying to make a blanket policy for everyone to adhere to. And I think the perception is you're elected no matter what. Even if I went on and made it a resident comment, it's still perceived that you are a board member. So I just think it's we're kind of in the area. I'd like Sean to kind of research that and bring back to us when we add this to there.
Yeah, I think that kind of gets into my First Amendment rights, freedom of speech, as long as I'm not, saying, on my personal page and, if I'm like, hey, come live in Blockhouse, I mean, that would be banned.
If we all
according
three
to-
got on there and started making comments, and I don't know you're making comments, then it's
Well,
gonna be a serious
you
issue.
should be able to know because you shouldn't have any of us blocked. So you should be able to see. If I post something, you should be able to see it.
Sean, say you were gonna say something, I think I've got
Yeah.
a question for you, Sean.
But for one thing, are we talking about on official district media here?
No.
Okay.
But we're talking about comments we made on other pages that could interpret that they're a board member.
And I clearly stated I was not speaking as a board member. I am speaking as a resident. And it's just like me standing outside the mailboxes and saying to a neighbor, oh, yes, you can go look at this if they're having questions.
But that's one-on-one versus everybody in the next.
Okay,
it's a
well,
next
submit,
page.
because
I understand.
Submit your suggestion and we'll vote on it and we'll move forward.
Thank you.
Okay. So it looks like we have some more edits, so we'll.
Yeah, and I'd like to maybe discuss this with the full board because
Sure.
it's very cramping when you can only talk to one other director about something, and it's rare that we all get together. And I noticed reading through the social media policy, the comments are to be turned off. I had asked for branch pickup for the comments to be turned back on, so that people could say, hey, I need help, or I'm running around. And I do want to keep it's gotta stay on topic, and not go into political or whatever. And so if a resident goes in there and starts attacking somebody else, then it'll be cleaned up by the GM. But I would like for certain opportunities where we need to communicate, where we can get a landscaping company to run branches out and advertise a little bit. I think that works good for the community to be able to turn comments on from time to time. At the discretion, I'm hoping of the GM, if she can, say, hey, this would be a good one to have it on. Or like, I'm not turning them on for that one, it's gonna be a train wreck and I'm gonna just have to keep deleting comments,
Well,
but
Robert,
leave
can
it
I
up
make a
to her.
suggestion on that? Maybe instead of just leaving it up to poor Lisa to have to figure out on her judgment all the time. Maybe perhaps if we make it edits to have a point here that if the board is soliciting comment on its official like basically, give an example, like if Lisa's instructed to put a post out saying, residents who need help with brush pickup, please respond to this post, right? And then people can just respond and perhaps have it in our policy that, personal attacks or off-topic conversations.
That's a
can be
great
legal,
suggestion.
But that way, like, Lisa's have to decide, well, do we want comment, basically, if you're soliciting or needing a solicit request from the residents or people to respond, has someone seen the coyote, right? that kind of thing, then she's got something to live by versus having to try to decide, like, oh, do I really want comments, do I not want comments, that way she doesn't have to think about it.
But the concern I've got with that is you're gonna end up with a 24/7 monitor, and that's an impossible thing with the hours they keep.
No.
Well, no, I'm talking about like if she makes a specific post, like, I mean, obviously if things get posted over like, or months or, forever later, like, but I mean, I think we can put that in the policy, that comments left over the period they're valid or something that's closed, right, if that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't do enough on
Okay.
Facebook to know, but we can add
That's a
that.
good point, but-
So this is something that would likely add to Lisa's workload at points. I think we need to get some input from Lisa on
Yeah.
this. What are your thoughts?
I think that after running the Germano drop-off, you had a lot of elderly residents that actually don't get on Facebook, but because of the comments, were able to get assistance because of a neighbor that did.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
so that really helped a lot in communicating, and it did keep the phones from not ringing here. And residents didn't reach out to me once that comment was opened up for them, because everybody communicated with each other and didn't need me. So we
So there's some
interacted,
value in it.
we interacted with all of the residents that were coming into Germano, because we checked IDs for every single one, and each of them shared their own story of how they ended up there.
Yeah.
So I think it was a huge benefit. Also, I do go in and peruse, Facebook as far as the comments, but it's very quick. I don't try and spend a lot of time on it. So it's not too much of an extra load, and it would be nice to be able to have that at my discretion of when I think it's a good idea.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, I didn't want to put a burden on you to decide,
So-
but it's fine. if you
So
think it's
perhaps we can put it in there that the GM can enable
At their discretion.
comments
Yep.
at her discretion, give her that power.
Okay.
That way, if it's extra work to monitor, and we can always reach out and say, hey, Lisa, it's blowing up. Please take a look and then go from there, but.
Okay, so it sounds like everyone had some suggestions. Please put those in writing. Please submit them to Denise and Sean and Liam. And we'll have hopefully one more red line, and please provide it clean at the same time if you could. It's just, I can't read it when it's on red line. Okay, we're gonna move on then. Transparency, number 7. I still have this on here, just kind of update. Lisa, do you want to give an update on AT&T?
We have actually been getting a lot more progress now with AT&T. David, by you providing me that information of looking for a project manager, I actually do have one now that's local, that actually gives me all of the attention that we're needing. He's gotten me in contact with a gentleman that will be looking at providing me a proposal to see what the district would want to cost share with AT&T, and possibly maybe even tapping into the fiber that's running right now from Creek Run. They do believe that it does have the capacity to support us, so we're gonna move forward with that. I did stall on it because we were actually dealing with ice storm, but we can get back focused to it now.
Great,
So
okay. So maybe March
do you
will be
think-
live.
March?
we're gonna try.
Great, thank you, Lisa. Number 8, resident survey is on here. I noticed that it is on the agenda for the March
That's
8th
what I was
special
gonna say.
meeting, so I don't know if we have anything to add here, but can we?
Well, I
See
think my comment was this, that, and I think I brought this to the board last time, is that, there are actually companies out there that would help us with that, and I'd like for her to kind of find somebody. I think the idea that they do this, vendors that they got, because I went to the conference, so I think it would be helpful, and also, they may actually write the newsletter for us. We used to have a separate vendor for the newsletter, we didn't let the GM do it. And we could turn social media over, we could actually have it more of the communication. She
We
could
do
put-
have somebody else writing our newsletter.
No, I mean, no,
Yeah,
no,
I thought you had that one gentleman when I was on this.
but we have to give content.
So, yeah, we
Yeah.
provide all the
Well, yeah,
content to
but they-
speakers, yeah.
The other person we used to have did the content, they would sit in the meetings, they would take the headlines, moods, and
Okay,
everything.
so we're on resident survey right now, so let's stick with the item.
So that's what I'm trying to say, is let's see if we can solicit some bids and get somebody to do this as a uniform, as
Okay.
underneath the.
It is on our special meeting
It's coming
agenda?
up in a couple of
Yeah.
weeks.
Yeah, so,
I think
okay,
it would help everybody, and I think it would just remove the board from having to, sit and spend their days when they're having to work.
okay, Director Young, do you have a comment?
Yes, I would like
I'll
to
help you with.
get out a special email, since we've been doing, I wanna open up a little bit more communication. I just remember somebody wanting to have, was talking about running for office, and she said she'd vote for me if I was able to remove the ag exception.
Chickens.
Or like, and so she could have chickens. Now, I think that that would be important, that she could say, well, hey, let's put a chicken question on there. And, you know, if we see that 75% of the residents are in favor of chickens, then maybe the next time they're looking to rewrite the restrictive covenants or whatever, they can look into removing it. Or if she's, you know, the only one that votes in favor of it, then she knows she needs to move out to the country a little bit farther if she wants to have some chickens.
So
can I get
what you're,
Sean to
just a second,
give a little update on restricted
Director Roberts, just a
covenants?
second, please.
I understand.
So what I'm hearing you say is that you would like to reach out to residents and see what they would like to see on the survey.
Yes, they can send email in, what kind of questions, what direction. Now, we'll have a final say on if a question is going to be included in it as well, but like, I do want any resident that has whatever pet project that they want, they can participate and see what the rest of the residents feel about it.
Okay, so again, I'm gonna say one more time, this is going to be on the agenda for the March 8th, so
Yes.
we can discuss this in a more detail.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if we can start getting some emails coming in from residents, so I wanna send an email to residents saying,
Before.
hey,
Oh, you
we
want to
are
solicit
looking,
for, I got it.
we're
Okay,
looking for
okay.
comments before.
Okay,
So is that a directive?
I would like to,
think so, right?
if we're all okay with that.
yeah, I'm
I'm
fine.
fine with the new directive, Lisa.
Yeah,
I
okay.
think-
Director Roberts, you okay with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of broad, I'm not sure specifically what we're doing, but it's fine.
Well,
I think he was thinking just send an email out to
Just
ask
find out what they
residents for
want.
input.
Let them know that there's going, not just our normal, hey, there's a special meeting, but hey, here's your chance, residents. If you've got a pet project or something that you want changed or any
Within the
direction.
scope of what the MUD's authority is.
Right,
Okay.
and
Because
there
changing
might even,
restricted covenants is not.
right, there might even be
within the
some
MUD.
questions where, like, we wouldn't do restrictive covenants, but if chicken people wanna see what the pulse of the district is, then they can see what it is. Now, we wouldn't necessarily do it, but they could be like, hey, we got 75%, we're gonna go sign a petition and we're gonna get the covenants changed.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, I'll say as much like, yes, we cannot change the restrictive covenants, we do control enforcement. And we have the ability to at least explain to residents what the hurdles they have to meet for that are. I don't think there's any, so I mean, again, like, we can't make that change, we can be like, well, we'll look up the second, here's your section, here's the restrictive covenant changes, good luck.
Okay.
No, that could be a website.
Okay, so can we move on then? It's 7:50 and we're on number 8.
What?
Okay, there's a directive from Director Young to the GM. And I think she understands that. Were you trying to give a directive to Sean, Director Roberts?
I think we're fine. I just wanted him to give some explanation on restricted, but it doesn't have to
Okay.
happen right now.
Okay, I just didn't hear it because it
And
was a
why
side
we
conversation.
cannot do the restricted covenants.
Okay, again, let's try to keep the side conversations down. Number 9 has already been taken care of. Number 10, restricted covenants. Director Shoemaker texted me and asked that we put this on hold. Is Director Johnson on this with you?
Yes, and that's the thing, so
Okay.
I wasn't able to make the last, I want to put this on hold for a couple reasons. One, because we have a very long agenda tonight, and my understanding there was no action items for the board tonight. And I was unable to make the last of them, but Director Johnson was, since he's not here, just in interest of making sure we have a good discussion of that meeting, since I wasn't able to attend. I'd like to ask to move items 10, 11, and 12, to leave those pending until next meeting.
Okay, Lisa, do you have anything to add?
We actually weren't able to meet, legal was not available, so there was actually not a meeting.
Okay, it did get canceled. I saw they might be, but I couldn't make it anyway, so well, I'll leave it up to Dave
Okay.
and follow.
Well,
So,
then
okay, then we'll
we'll-
definitely leave it pending.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, finance and audit report from and directives to Mac. Payment of bills and invoices.
Yes, all right, y'all should have your bookkeeper's report in front of you. Obviously, the subcommittee met, we had 2 supplementals that were cut, 21725 and 21726. Other than that, there's not a lot going on. Again, property tax money is coming in, we did have 2 transfers, no investments for y'all's approval today.
Okay, so, anything else?
I was just gonna tell you, as of January 31st, you're 91% collected for your property taxes.
How does that rate against previous years?
I'd have to look back.
Okay, no big deal.
Typically, January is a pretty high percentage, but you'll
Good.
see a lot come in February, because a lot of people pay on the very last.
Okay, great. Do we have a
So-
motion to approve the payment of bills and invoices and the 2 transfers?
Motion.
For a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Yep, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, number 14, report from Finance and Audit Subcommittee. That's Johnson and myself. We did meet, we talked, one of the items is we looked at the cost of the cleanup, and we have an estimate. I think we're waiting on a couple other estimates, but it's, we talked to Taylor about it as well, and we're okay. But it's something that we will want to communicate with the residents, how much it did cost to clean up. And I will tell you what I heard over and over from residents, and I talked to hundreds of residents. They so appreciated that they could drop off their limbs, and they felt like for one time they could truly see their taxpayer dollars actually helping them. Now granted, it helps them all the time, but this was truly something that they could see, and they were thrilled. So we're gonna move on. Amenities, oh yes.
What I would like to do on this moving forward, this was a massive deal, and we still had a lot of residents that, that still had it paid to get it out of here, but maybe they didn't know or trust that it would be open for their hours and stuff like that. But I would like to basically formalize some of the things that we have done right.
Okay, so that's actually number 15, which is the winter storm considerations, so I think that fits right.
Oh, we were already down there,
And it
okay.
kind of fits in with my 16.
All right,
Okay,
let's,
well, let's just combine them, so, so we'll do 15 and 16, Director Young, and I'm gonna start this conversation with a huge thank you to Crossroads, not just to Lisa, but to Amy and to Travis, and to Trip with Priority Landscape and Certified Arbor, and Dig Dug, and every single resident in this community. We have done an awesome job cleaning up, and it was worth every single penny, and we are so far ahead of any other MUD, any other OA, any other city. So thank you to Amy and Travis, you guys have worked nonstop. Thank you, Director Young, you and I have been out there nonstop, and I am so very proud of how you all handled this.
that was a lot of juggling, and
Yeah.
who's gonna get this, and when are we gonna open, we're gonna close. Hopefully we'll streamline it a little bit better, but absolutely, that was, so far up to date, everything has been absolutely amazing, Lisa. And I know that you've had a lot of different things pulling in every different direction. There's a lot going on when that many branches fall in the neighborhood. But thank you for juggling and managing that, and very much appreciated.
Do you want to go into what you're gonna say about having a plan going forward?
Yeah, what I would like to do, perhaps a newsletter type of thing, that if we have a branch dropping event, the residents can expect the next time that we're going to have a drop off at some point. That way they don't know if we are or we aren't. We can communicate to them that, and one of the things that residents coming in, they're like, are you guys gonna be open next weekend? Well, my communication was, we need to stay open and allow this to happen until everybody's had a reasonable chance to do it. And this has been a massive event, so we don't know exactly when it's done. I've told them that we're looking at renting a chipper for 3 months, so we may still be chipping for that duration, but I would like residents to know that if we agree that this was a good thing for residents, that I would like residents to know that moving forward, we will do this again, and we will be more efficient next time as well.
Okay, Director Roberts.
Yeah, I mean, we did this 2 years ago, and it went very well and also, I think the concern I had is and I think, by the way, I agree with y'all, applaud to everybody, and I know it was a lot of effort. And it was very tense in many ways, but I think the priority on some of the safety has to be consideration. Like, I think Stu McMullen made a comment about it, because we had an incident in the park, and I think liability-wise, we have got to focus a little bit more on the parks and also how to manage the residential drop-off. I think that could have been a kind of seen a little bit different from my eyes, just because we've been here before 2 years ago and we did this. So I think it's not a criticism, it's not personal at all. It's basically the way I look at it, because I had 18 years in litigation, so the last thing I want is for us to be.
Were you an attorney?
I worked in the courtroom, yes, was in a trial.
You're an attorney?
No.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Clarifying the emergency plan and making it available to the public in the neighborhood will resolve that, because I think that's the big issue is, you know, it's hard for government to be nimble. You know, we take weeks to have meetings and they have to public notices and all. It's like, you know, at the state level, the way they're nimble for urgencies is, you know, a lot of stuff is already written into code and policies, and simply when an event occurs, right, the policy's enacted, the law is followed, and there's not half a lot of decision making about having to set it up. So I think, you know, this was successful. We had a lot of stuff mulched, when people brought lots of loads. Having it multiple weekends, I think was very successful. I know folks people don't understand that the cost is very high, because they've gotta have crews, they've gotta have trucks, and they've gotta be out running, and it's gonna take days and sometimes weeks to get stuff done. So I think memorializing this as a plan would be a great idea.
Yeah, okay, so, my turn. So, what I wanted to say is, yes, Cedar Park, I was amazed when we were there just last week. They hadn't even started picking up yet, and we had already, I mean, how many days have we done? We started the Thursday, there was still ice on trees and limbs when people were dropping off. And I agree with Director Roberts and Director Young and Director Shoemaker that we need to memorialize this, we need to have a plan. Because they did do it 2 years ago, they did one day, and they did it like weeks and weeks afterwards. So what I learned from that is let's do it as soon as we can, and not just one day. There's no way we were gonna clean up, and this was unprecedented. I mean, we had so much more damage this time than we did last time. So we're gonna learn every time we have one of these things. And you know what? This spring, it might be a tornado. And how are we gonna clean up that? So I think that this should be a priority for us to kind of get a weather management emergency plan together.
Can we get a directive, and I'm thinking like a one-page emergency plan written up by Lisa with lessons learned, like, hey, this is what needs to be prioritized, either wrapping the branches that are fallen, or, you know, the different priorities, like a lot of the lessons that have been learned, but here's basically the blockhouse response, right? Item 1, you know, assess damage and take a look, and you know, just go on down, you know, open up the park for branch drop off, you know, and assure, you know, residents that this will stay open, you know, ask the OA to stop enforcing restrictive covenants on branch and different things like that. But I'm just thinking like a one-page, kind of even just an outline, so that we can have it and then say, yeah, this is a great plan, or we could reprioritize some things, and then that'll be the plan. Then we can publish that out to the residents, so that when another event does happen, we post the plan, here's the plan, everybody's, oh, yeah, we'll just collect the branches and get going. Is that too big of an ask? And I think we still may not even want it for another month, because you are still learning from what you've done. So maybe in 2 months, due time, is that enough time, you think?
Director Roberts, what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely want that, that's why I put the item on there, and I also think that we could probably go in and ask other people, like maybe through AWBD, or even in, David Gray, I mean, I think you're familiar with it, and just do some shares, so get some ideas, and I think we need it. We have an emergency plan, but can you provide that, Sean, to Lisa? Because we already have one.
Yeah, it's pretty vague, but it's a good starting
Thing
point.
specifically on ice storms, and maybe, you know, anything that's catastrophic.
The floods.
Yeah.
I'd like the power outages that we had a couple of years ago, it'd be kind of nice, like, even your across the street neighbor doesn't have power, so you can't even just go visit them for hot cocoa for a few hours, but the other side of the neighborhood did. But, you know, we might have a plan where, you know, post, hey, I got a few extra spaces in my house, and we'll swap as the power comes and goes.
Yeah, the good news was this event was like 2 days, 2.5 days, where the other one was almost a week. So it's why it took so long to get everything together on that. But I think the reality is this, we know we need something in place. And I think it's only fair to Lisa or the GM to basically have that plan in place, so they know what their criteria is and what their triage is on this.
And everybody knows what the priorities are before it happens, and so Lisa can get to work and.
Yes.
I think the directives are excellent. I just want to get that, because you're asking me.
Yes, I was just to make sure everyone is.
I I have two comments I'd like to make on this, if I can. I'd like to provide a little bit of statistical information that I know as of today. City of Round Rock actually did provide, or did reach out to a FEMA-type company that's out of Minnesota. And they have these big trucks that actually, each truck, in order to fabricate them, costed $400,000. I know because I spoke to the owner this morning. He actually drove down 20 trucks. They're charging anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000 a day to drive these trucks curbside into Round Rock. You only have one driver. They get out in a particular area, they get to the back of the truck, they have a boom lift there, and then they go in and they pick up everything. Just one truck, like I said, $7,000 to $10,000 a day to run that. It's also geographically pinpointed. They have a GPS system that they're using, Round Rock's towers, that currently help them monitor the watering meter systems that they have in the ground. So they know exactly where all of their trucks are at. He said, this is strategic. This gentleman said that they're probably gonna be looking at $1.4 to $1.7 million a week in order to be able to clean.
Yeah.
We were able to do, this is 2,200, it's actually 2,209 meters. When I talked to this gentleman, he said, that's a small city. He said, you really need to look at, he said, having a budgeted reserve for items such as this. He said, and I expect for you to make it hefty. He said, the great thing about our trucks is that you do have older trees that are high, that you can't get to. He said, and we are the only ones, and nobody else that can do this. He said, to go and take our boom and pick that high branch that's, you know, a detriment. He said, at the same time, everybody else is having to do it the old-fashioned way. And yesterday, out here, Certified Arbor, they were up there with all of their gear on, trying to cut down the rest of these limbs. We literally, they worked a crew, gave us one specific crew just for Blockhouse, so did Priority Landscape. That's something that you're not seeing anywhere else. Barron's Ranch, Walsh Ranch, so on and so forth. They all haven't started even cleaning up yet. So that was a big undertaking that I wanted to bring to y'all's attention.
Was there a second point?
I did, I just forgot it. It's just too much information. I think the other.
Oh, okay.
I
So,
think.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Williamson County did declare a disaster, so there may be some funds.
It has to come from the state?
No, it did, the state
The
declared a
state did
disaster.
one, but I'll be honest with you, like,
Not anymore,
it's, no, I mean, it's not something you shouldn't keep an eye on it, but it's, from the numbers I've heard on total damage quoted, it's not gonna hit high. Texas is such a large state to get a FEMA declaration and actually draw down money. Basically, wildfire, like really big wildfire like the season can get it, hurricanes can get it, but like tornadoes in Texas, you get a tornado go through downtown Austin, that's about the level of damage you'd have to have tearing up skyscrapers to get enough money damage threshold for FEMA. So keep an eye on it, maybe the feds will do something, but that's the one problem being in Texas, the threshold, same for all states, and, tornadoes rarely ever get it.
I did talk to Sean about that a couple of weeks ago, and he's keeping an eye on it, so thank you for bringing that up.
I remember Melissa's
Okay, go
comment.
ahead.
I also wanted everybody to recognize, and I do have maps that are here in the Walker House that I'm happy to share with anybody that wants to come in. Just Tomlinson Park alone is 20 acres.
Yeah.
That's massive. Comanche Park is 3 acres, Bike Track 3 acres, Tonko Park 13 acres, Apache Park 2 acres, Germano Park, just where the disc golf center is at, is 2 acres. The remainder of it in the creeks is 98 acres.
Wow.
I need, no, it's the capacity of the trees that are there, that when a fallen limb comes down, somebody thinks, oh, you can just go pick that up. It took 3 people to remove a limb from Scottsdale. 3 people.
Yeah, I believe
So
it.
when you think of the time frame that it took for us to actually give this attention with the small amount of crews that we were given, Priority Landscape is running off of a skeleton crew until they get their people coming in March and in April.
Yeah.
The capacity that they gave to us and what we were able to do with the minimum numbers is absolutely insane. And that speaks volume in itself. So I know people were looking and hoping to see, a lot more movement a lot quicker, but
It's not realistic.
I'm happy to say that I think we did a really great job. Thank you
This
guys
is
for
like
bearing
having a
with us.
small hurricane.
Absolutely.
Like a
It
category
was.
2,
Yeah.
and if anybody who's ever dealt with hurricane recovery knows,
Yeah.
the fact we didn't lose power was good, because Atkinson was taking, like, poor folks in Austin who lost power, that takes a long time, so I think y'all did a lot, Lisa. I did
You did
one
an amazing job.
quick
Okay, go ahead,
comment on the directives. after we get all the directives back, because we were talking about like potentially outlining restrictive covenant delay and stuff, I think we probably want to memorialize that with some kind of adoption at the board level, since that's gonna be setting district policy. But that can be after we get whatever we get from Lisa. I just wanted to put that marker there that for that purpose, I'd like to give us some.
Okay. Director Young, did you have one more comment?
Yeah, I don't know how much that would have cost the Round Rock plan for the size of us, but it sounds pretty high tech and really awesome, and a lot of old people wouldn't have sweated anything, they just waited until they got it all picked up. But I think that I'd like to establish that this is kind of gonna be the Blockhouse way. We're not gonna throw a lot of money out of state for trucks and out of there. We'd rather pay our Murray property specialist kids down the street, come pick it up, then drop off some mulch a little bit later on. I know this is gonna dip into some, I suspect when we get to it, the emergency fund, but I think it was money that was very well spent. And moving forward, I love the community coming together like they did. And I think that should remain a characteristic of this community moving forward.
Yeah, no, it definitely brought the community together.
So do we have a number, an estimate on what the total's gonna cost?
Tripp gave us a rough estimate earlier today of 40,000, but he even said, I mean, there's still so much work being
Is
done.
that including certified?
Yeah, and I don't think that included the first 17,000.
Big Doug, okay.
I think you're
Yeah,
right.
we're probably looking at 100 plus.
I'd like to also include, a year ago, we didn't have any mulch we needed mulch on the disc golf course. We spent $5,400 doing that.
Yeah, more mulch than that.
We're gonna put some piles out in the area, and the disc golfers are gonna go and do that. We've got everybody that's bought a truckload of mulch and gone to Home Depot and, picked all that up. So even though the price is up there, we've got a lot of firewood back there that people are picking up. We've got a lot of mulch. So we also, looking at the final number, we need to take that into consideration, that if it is $100,000, let's take a look at all the savings that we've had as residents.
Okay, I think this was a really good discussion. So if you have any other comments or suggestions or ideas for going forward, please submit those to Lisa, the GM. We're gonna move on to number 18. 17, sorry, lifeguard for hire.
Well, after hearing all this, there's not a whole lot to talk about pool stuff. We've had a few issues that Lisa's working on. Now it makes sense why we haven't communicated very much. So my fault for feeling like out in the cold. I'm not even gonna bring that up, but I did want to introduce somebody tonight. This is Eric Diesner. He's gonna be your new aquatics director, managing the pools, the lifeguards and stuff like that. I sent an email out just to the swim committee tonight and to Lisa, and so I just wanted y'all to know he's got a great background, and if you can't tell, I'm just gonna say it, he's older than your previous person was.
And y'all are
and
really
he's more
mean to the
experienced.
people.
He's more experienced, so you're gonna get an adult who's,
Welcome
I wouldn't
to
know if I would
Blockhouse.
say he was wise for his years, but I would say he's.
He has wisdom,
Yeah,
he has
so-
more wisdom.
So, yes, he does. He does.
Okay.
So you've got a new person who's doing that. The report is in the packet for January. I don't think it's important to talk about what's going on in February. Lisa's working on some stuff and.
All right, does anybody have any questions for Tom?
We're on schedule to open back up Apache, and we're on schedule to open Tumlinson on time.
I don't know, we haven't talked, I'm putting you on
We will be.
the spot for Apache.
We will be ready.
And tags will be ready?
We'll be ready.
So when are you gonna open up for people to get tags?
Whenever the Brivo system is in, I'll be able to give you more data on that.
Okay,
Sorry, I couldn't answer that.
that's okay. Thank you, Tom, and welcome. All right, we're gonna move
welcome.
on to priority landscapes.
Have a good night, guys.
Good night.
Hi,
You.
nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Linda Ramirez, I'm the accounting manager for Priority Landscapes. Tripp is actually at another meeting, so he sent me here to have a fresh face, I guess you could say. I don't know what I can answer for you. I know that we have done everything Blockhouse for the last 3 weeks, that's all I have heard. And we have been running a skeleton crew. I myself pulled brush last weekend with my son because we need people, so. It was a good lesson to learn.
Yeah.
But my son was like, I don't wanna do this. I was like, you're doing it. But yeah, we're working as fast as we can. We're getting our seasonal help that comes in April. I did make a lot of notes that we need to be done by cleanup by March, so I'll make sure that that gets relayed back to everybody. But if there's any questions I can answer, I do all of the billing and contracts and pretty much anything. I've been with the company since my son was 5 and he's 12.
Oh, wow.
So you just never
Thank
see me because
you.
I'm behind the scenes.
Great.
So if there's anything that I can answer, I will answer to the best of my ability.
I do have a small email from Tripp as well.
Yes.
He did mention that she was gonna come out. He just wanted me to update you guys and let y'all know that in terms of maintenance, they're starting their weekly services in March. They will proceed on their spring turf applications, and they expect, the annual ant treatment to be done within the next 3 to 4 weeks as well.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we're just, a lot of that depends also on the wind,
Right.
because with the chemical, we
Yeah.
don't,
Oh, right.
if it's windy, it's just not gonna work.
Thank you.
So we definitely keep that updated. So
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, number 19.
And for the Easter egg hunt, have we done ant control? Like, just-
We haven't done any.
We haven't done anything. Did
we might wanna consider doing
Okay.
ant control in Tonkawa, just for the Easter egg hunt.
Okay, can,
I mean, it's pretty
Lisa, can you
expensive, but
send
it's
her
worth
the
it.
email so we have it on the calendar and I will put it in.
It's
the-
March 18th, which probably falls right in line with when you guys were talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's when we were talking about, we've been monitoring the weather daily just because the wind has picked up apparently.
Yeah.
So I will double check on that. And
Okay.
what was the park name again? I'm sorry.
Tonkawa.
Tonkawa.
Right.
Great, okay, number 19, amenities subcommittee and related action. Thomason Park Playscape, including proposal from Dig Dug. Lisa.
So I do have a proposal for you guys. The small playscape, we did actually do some repairs to the big one. As far as the bridge is concerned, this is the same exact bridge that we have at the small playscape. Until we come up with a new parks plan and look at, replacing this playscape, this is probably something that would definitely fall under a safety item. So I do recommend tonight that the board approve this.
What was the
It's, price is gonna be $6,075. It's the exact same price that we paid for the big, bridge. It's the same welding mechanism that needs to be done, so it's the same labor.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion?
Did you get any other bids besides Dig Dug?
No, I used them for the last one, so I trust their welder. I wanna use them again.
Okay, so you recommend it?
Yes, ma'am.
We would recommend Dig Dug too, it worked for us in a lot of our projects.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
I got a question for Lisa. The playscapes that we have there, as they age, they're costing more and more every year to do that. At some point, it's beneficial to scrap it and go. What is your opinion on when we no longer have value in keeping what we got and it's time to budget and have another one built?
I'd be excited to talk to you guys about that, especially with your bond counsel in front of you. Trent Rush, I think, would be also a great asset to be able to ask him that question, but I would say definitely within this year would be really great to try and start getting that taken care of. I know we have a lot of
Line it up for the
logistical
next
information.
budget?
Yeah,
Probably the park
Or
bond.
the part one
Okay,
itself,
they're gonna be important, okay.
yeah.
Which is a 9-month process or so,
Right,
before
so-
we actually see the monies. But as I was talking to David Gray about, we could always do it and reimburse ourselves as
Yes.
well.
Okay.
So, okay, good deal, thank you. B, Luther Chance Practice Fields Observation Deck Repairs.
What, did you take a vote?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Pass.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, nice to meet you.
Nothing on that item. I didn't have time to actually work on that item.
Okay, that's
You wanna
fine,
table
yeah.
it?
Please, yes.
Yeah, I think Director Roberts had asked you for proposals, so maybe next month or so.
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
table.
Great. 20, proposal from Dig Dug for the Ice Storm Creek
So-
cleaning.
We have already, like I said, worked on the parks, we're ready to get into the creeks. I know that Tripp does have people coming, as they mentioned, March and April. We have residents that have been calling about the creek. I did push them to the end of the line, they are waiting and they need attention.
Where
So-
on the creek?
We're looking at English River Loop, I'd like to actually start on Spamonte, parking out there at Spamonte and starting
along
down.
it, yeah.
all
What
over
about
it.
the nature trail? It's in big dire need.
Again, I'm looking at the residents that have called along English River Loop, Spamonte area. There are, if you walk Germano, there are huge trees back there that are already down.
It's a process.
Yeah.
I think Lisa's trying to get you focused on the ones that have been brought to the attention,
Yeah.
perhaps the worst ones.
Yeah.
This is gonna be an ongoing issue
Absolutely.
to some degree for some time.
Yeah, absolutely, and what has driven your list of what we did first was safety.
Yes.
It absolutely was safety,
Yes.
and now we're at the place where our streets are clean, our parks are clean, and now we're looking at branches that have fallen onto residents'
Right, so,
fences and such,
so I proposed 7 days with Dig Dug, and one of the reasons that I like them is they actually assisted me whenever they had the ice storm back in 2 years ago out at Travis County Mud 18, and they cleaned roughly over 30 acres of irrigation area that was just filled with juniper, shrubs, and so forth. This is their forte. When we're trying to help residents out, they can get to the areas we
So,
need.
Lisa, and what they're gonna do in the creeks, will they also, because down in Humano, there's branches, there's little dams built up now, will they take care of that as well?
Anything
And
that's,
then do we need to note that for the MS4?
we will, we'll be
Okay.
able to give them the areas that have been cleaned, so that way they can actually go back and look at that and make sure that water's not being impeded on the flow, so
Okay.
that would definitely help.
So can I also make a comment that I am very concerned about the safety and the nature trail? There are brush, there's ones hanging, can we close that section?
I don't know how to close a section like that, what I've done is
Barricades?
actually,
You know what, I have a suggestion, and
they walk around.
You- you've already done it, but we could do it again. I actually looked at Wells Branch, and they had a nice statement that said, you know, go to the parks at your own risk, and we can add the nature trails to that. There's no way we can close something off.
Well, I understand that, but I'm gonna ask Sean, should it be posted at the entry of those nature trails? At least they have a warning for, if they're not on social media, they don't get an email, they don't read them. I mean,
We
we
can put on e-sign too.
They have to read it though. So I mean, do we need to put something in the entry? We could put barricades up, you know, but, I mean, those aren't that hard to go get.
I have barricades, I have barricaded Tomlinson Playscape, and we have spent
People.
more time in those moments when it was barricaded, having to put it back up, because that's
No, I
the
mean, not
first
that
thing.
kind of barricade. The
That's the
kinds that
first
are
time
to
that
stand.
they go and they start.
Yeah,
Those are
people,
gonna end up in
people
the
are gonna
creek.
move, and that's the problem.
Well, I know that, but at least if it's there, it shows that it's not owned.
Do you wanna
Someone
ask
like-
for a vote?
I asked for a directive. But
Well,
I'm asking
I-
our attorney now to give us a response.
So
She wants to know if we should put barricades up along the nature trail and signage. And as opposed to what I was suggesting is putting it on the e-sign and different places, like I think I told you,
I'm sorry, which nature trail are we talking about
It's the
here?
one right back here that's got a lot of fallen limbs in it, and it's blocking trails, it's got hanging limbs, and it's very dangerous. And kids go from the hockey, they go back there and play, and I know it's an impossible thing, because you can't keep everybody out, even with signs, but I think the better signage we have, the less liability risk we have.
Yeah, I think certainly signs at the entrances probably make sense, and specifically warning.
That would count as like effective notice?
Yeah.
Okay.
would
That's
being
what
on the e-sign and emails be effective notice?
Probably, although I think with something like that, you probably want to put it on site. I don't think
Okay,
there's any.
here's my concern, this is why I'm a little resistant to it, is by the time we order these signs and get them put out there, it's gonna be cleaned up. You have Dig Dug going out there for the next 7 days, so.
Yeah, but tomorrow we could get a fast sign quick.
So we've got the nature trail, but we have, I mean, I'm looking at how many acres we report on the acres of resident-only parks on the homepage, 113. I imagine at least 75 of those acres are littered with branches that could fall. Before the storm even happened, we've had dead trees hanging over trails that could have fallen on them. Everybody knows that nature can be dangerous, and
Except
in
for
a
a
tree.
5-year-old.
I'm sorry?
Except for a 5-year-old.
Well,
or
the parent should
6-year-old,
be with a
7-year-old.
5-year-old.
Well, I think we're in the age where 5-year-olds need to have a parent or
Well, it could
somebody
be
around
7 or
there, you know.
8-year-old. I mean, Robert, I understand what you're saying, and I get the pollution, the polluting of signs, but I think we need to have effective notice. And I know we're not gonna be able to cover every park area, but I think when we're aware of something, we basically are exposed.
Lisa, can I ask a quick question? How, I'm assuming that once you approve this, like Dig Dug will basically like out there, what, tomorrow,
Yes,
Friday?
actually, I'm emailing them tonight, they'll be out there first thing in the morning,
I
How
mean,
much do they clean out?
depending on how big everything is out there.
Well, have you assessed it?
I can't.
No, I mean, this one out here.
I can't go into every creek and
No, I know
assess
that,
it.
but we're right here at the water.
I haven't gone into any creek and assessed it, it's too much for me. It's too
Okay.
much for one
We have
person to
Travis, so
assess.
could you not do it?
She's been working.
That's why I gave the statistics on how big the parks were. We have one person for over
No, I'm
100
well
plus
aware of that.
acres.
Yeah.
I can't send one person in to go and look at a trail, it's too much debris.
So, Sean, how can we handle this if we can't get anybody else to go out? I mean, I assessed it, I'm aware of it, because I went over there and I went, oh my gosh, this is really risky for anybody walking it. So what do we do?
Lisa, you about to say something, Lisa?
Yes, I actually had some elderly people that have been coming out here to play pickleball. And they even came the day after the storm, as soon as they were able to play. They're actually a whole group, they live here. I asked them, how are you feeling about the area? They said, thank you for sending us the notices, we got them via email, we saw everything up online. One lady said, I don't feel unsafe here, but I know I have common sense and I won't be going into the trails.
Right.
You know,
that's
Lisa,
one
in light of
person,
the, of the speed with which Dig Dug will be out there and the people speed this will be resolved,
Mhm.
maybe perhaps you best just send an email notice, because I think that, I don't think we'd have time to get signs made and posted, even if they were on like a stick, before
And the
they
truth
get out
is,
there working.
if a 7-year-old's down there, they're gonna pick up that sign that's gonna be in the creek.
Or if it gets blown over the wind.
So I would like to suggest, and I'll make a motion that we actually, communicate to our residents in all forms, not just social media, but email. Let's do the phone thing, and let's, do the e-sign.
That's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Which I think kind of what I'm kind of sensing is that you want to do some kind of effort of demonstrating the board's concern. But you can't keep people out of these areas. These areas are too accessible. They're too widespread, but you just got to make some kind of effort to let them know.
Yeah.
And then you're making the effort with the proposals that Lisa's brought to you to actually address the issue. That seems to be a pretty good combination. It's not like a playscape. It's like a 20 by 20 area. You can put some tape around and it'll last for a couple hours, you know.
Yeah.
It's a big area. And
Thank you, David.
And I
Okay,
think
so,
we-
I don't have a second.
Second.
Okay, so now discussion.
Can I just
Sure.
say one thing, and, you guys are absolutely right, these parks are way too accessible. And I think like part of your plan for a disaster, like what we should do is, you know, maybe getting rebar and assign pre-made signs.
Yes.
And I do agree that at the beginning of the trails, maybe just the sign right in the middle of the trail, make sure you get the post hole digger and put that baby down so you can pick it up. But, and I agree, common sense, but common sense ain't so common anymore. Because, yeah, like, people will try to find a reason to sue somebody for something. And like David said, something is better than nothing. But I think the more, even if it is a sign, hey, this was what we had, we try to let everybody know. That's just, because people were asking me all the time, do we need to close the parks? I'm like, they haven't contacted me telling me the parks are closed, they're opening.
Residents
them
are
in the
asking you if we should.
No,
close
the
parks?
deputies.
Oh.
And I said, if they're opening them in the morning, they want the parks to be open, so.
you could put a long-term sign, you know, that's not here next week, but you could direct Elisa, I'm helping you out here. Get some signs made that are more permanent to put out there, just to keep there all the time. I mean, frankly, you know, a more permanent, you know, just use the park at your own risk. You know,
Snakes,
something like
spiders,
like that.
glass.
Well, and this could go to our special meeting, David, about
Yeah.
survey and stuff, because Parks and talk
Yeah.
about park rules, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's an excellent suggestion to bring up. then,
Yeah.
because-
So it's kind of two
Like
different
ice
things.
on the bridge, how they, those signs fold up.
Right.
Yeah.
I see they fold down.
Don't mess with Texas signs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Speaking
I
of
think
snakes,
there's
we
some
have
good
rattlesnake,
suggestions here.
Signs at our range, because we kill like 50 to 100
Well, we had to
rattlesnakes a
put
year.
snake signs up here because people were finding snakes, so,
Yeah.
and no one's renewed those signs, so they're still there.
Yeah, those are permanent
They're
signs.
permanent.
Okay, so, I have a second, all in favor?
What was the motion?
That we were going to, have Lisa do social media, the e-sign, email, and the phone call. Just saying, please still take caution in the parks, in the nature walks, all throughout the district, we are still cleaning up and we're getting to things, I mean, you can, work on the
And I'd
language.
like to amend that motion, to add the permanent signs.
No, that's not gonna be
That's
my
my
motion.
motion. I amend it.
Okay.
Do I have a second?
So I can second so we can discuss it.
Yeah, oh yeah, you can always do that, yeah.
I think this district has an excess of signs, and I would like to, at some point, do an audit of those, basically, give it, I know Lisa's busy now, and I've kind of hinted at it, but tell me which signs we need to keep, and if you like, I could share a photo, but we have the exact same verbiage on the tennis court on two completely different signs right next to each other. I'm like, why do we have two signs that say the exact same thing? And why are we replacing these and spending money on that? So I would like to have a sign, discussion at a later time when Lisa has
Good idea.
less things to juggle. Let her continue making things safe right now, put out some quick information for residents that are unaware that there may still be limbs to fall in
Yeah,
their.
to this, I think Director Young, like, that's the thing I was trying to get at, asking Sean the effective notices and asking Lisa about Dig Dug coming on tomorrow, literally start this, is that if this is something we had like, we're gonna wait 2 weeks or a month, perhaps it'd behoove us to talk about putting out some kind of sign. I think having a larger discussion, once we get the memo with our directives, to discuss about disaster, is a great time. But I think in the interest of time and speed, it behoove us to like use Director Logan's motion as she originally made it, and then also vote to approve the proposal from Lisa to pay for Dig Dug to do the cleanup, and then move forward, because I think there's a time issue here. We really gotta kind of,
Okay.
get both those actions in motion. We'll have notice and we can get this cleaned up.
So I haven't shared my thoughts on this, on your motion yet. And what I would say is, I think it's a great idea to get permanent signs at some point, or signs that we can go put out as soon as it happens, but we're not there right now. So, Director Roberts has a motion, she had a second, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye.
Or nay, yeah, opposed.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I was like, usually it's like the same sign, right?
Okay, so I'm gonna go back to my original motion, which again, I'll explain, is e-sign, emails, phone, there's a
The robocall.
robocall, well, phone,
The-
and then the social media.
And I think I made a second on that.
Yes,
Okay.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And I'll vote
Aye.
for that too.
Okay.
I'll vote for that one.
And make a mental note, I'm gonna need instruction on how to note this for the report that I do, because we're kind of branching off into two, but
Yeah,
let's just remember and, make
Okay.
sure I get my notes right.
Okay, let's move forward.
And I think that was still up to us on item 20, where you have to approve
Yeah.
leases. So
And that
I will
was
make a motion.
6,750?
No.
No,
It's 11,000.
Ice storm.
11,550. I'll make a motion that we approve the contract with Dig Dug to start the cleanup on the creek.
Oh, yes, okay, do I have a second? I'll second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay, 21, Express Electrical, this is the electrical panel at Apache Pool. I don't know if the full board knows.
So IG Express actually backed out, they did not want to do the work. I was able to find another contractor, I can't obviously discuss it because it's not on the agenda, but what I would like is, because we do need to get that pool back open. We have people that are having meetings and stuff, but I would like to see if we could get the amenities subcommittee to be, given a approval of $17,000 not to exceed, so that way I can bring in this other contractor and get work done.
So do you all understand what's going on at Apache Pool with the electric panel?
I haven't explained that to them.
Yeah, do you mind taking
So,
2 minutes?
I actually received an email, on the 7th of February telling me that a motor had burned out at Apache Pool. Apparently, this is the 3rd time that they've replaced that motor within a 5-year span. Those motors should last, each one of them, 5 to 6 years by themselves. What we found is that, I brought in an electrical person that actually went to the panel. You'll like this. We have a 40-watt pump with a 20-watt amp. We have nothing in the panel that's pulling, and this has been this way. Tom left, but he was very good at updating me, and I guessed on my own, and I think he's correct. He said I was correct. So when I was out there with the electricians, what we came to gather is that Apache Pool was initially created to be a particular type of pool. Later on, you guys decided to have it be something different, so all of these extra components were added to it. And they didn't upgrade any of the electrical, and this has apparently been on somebody's agenda for the last 8 years, and it's not been done. So we're at a point now where not only does Apache need to be taken care of, I'll be bringing back Tomlinson's as well, because we have a lot of electrical work that we have to do.
So was Lifeguard are aware of this shortage?
Yeah, aware of which?
Aware of the ampage?
No,
No,
because they're not electricians.
It just came up.
All they know how to do is when
They
something
knew
burns
it was
out, they'll
blowing,
replace,
they knew
exactly.
it was blowing, but they didn't know the reason.
They don't know- they didn't know
That's
the reason
outside
why.
their area of expertise.
Yeah, so they hire
But-
somebody
But it has now been.
That's not their
looked in-
job.
It has now, it's not their job. It's now been looked into, and the problem's been identified. And I think what Lisa's trying to do is to get that done with the board authorization, instead of waiting another month to go back to the.
And we will bring Apache, not that it's out of code, but we will bring it up to date.
Yeah.
So that way, now that everything that we have in there will start to work efficiently, and we might actually even see some people, changing their minds about maybe even chemical usage. That's gonna be a factor.
So you said IG rolled out.
So,
It was too much work.
so I have a question for Sean. It's on the agenda as far as the proposal, but they have pulled out. Can we still vote on it with the new company?
I think we can go with Lisa's recommendation to,
Allow the subcommittee?
yeah, allow the subcommittee vote.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
The other thing, I know we try to keep the special meetings agendas clean, but when do you anticipate you can get that? If not, we could push that. That's 2 weeks from today.
I actually do have their proposal in hand now, and it is, itemized, so you guys will actually see everything. I've not worked with another contractor that has provided me this type of itemizing.
Can you give us the name of them so we can
I just
add
do the
that?
subcommittee, if you're okay.
Yeah,
with
the
it.
pool's already been closed for 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and that's impacting Leander High School swim team. It's impacting Lifeguard for Hire.
Absolutely.
So I would not wanna wait 2 more weeks before
So
we
we
did
got a
it.
motion to approve it, and then with the name she's gonna give us later.
Oh, I thought it was a
It's
director.
Twin Electrics, yeah.
The director.
Well, it's actually a motion.
No, it's a director.
Well, no, because the original one that motion director, like, because
Sean just said
IT
we
backed
could do
out,
Yeah, but I'm
so.
gonna make the motion with the substitution of the contractor.
Twin Electric.
Sean
Yeah,
just said for
so
us,
I
just a
tried-
director.
Yeah, well, what I thought we were gonna do a motion subject to the approval of the
Authorize
subcommittee
the
on
subcommittee.
examination.
Yeah.
Okay.
And with the
Okay.
limitation to 17.
Yes.
Gotcha, okay.
Okay, so that's my motion.
All right, second?
I second that for 17,000.
Okay,
So there is no approval on this, because this, the way it's written, is not the way we're voting on it.
we're basically making a motion that we can give her a directive.
Right,
Yeah.
so Robert's gotta keep
Yeah.
the minutes here.
For money.
Yeah, so we're motioning
You know
to.
what I
There's not a vote here, though.
The new proposal, we are doing the motion to approve, subject to the approval by the subcommittee, and the limitation is 17K.
Thank you. Very well said.
Okay,
Yeah,
Thank you for putting
better
that.
than I could.
Okay.
So I made a second to approve that motion, direct the subcommittee to this.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you, Director Roberts, for that.
No, thank you.
What item was that?
21. Okay,
Just go ahead and take a breath, Robert.
okay, 22, Gray Engineering.
Okay, I'm gonna do y'all a favor and take the Pertinel's issue off the agenda.
Thank you.
Okay? No reason, I've monitored them, there's nothing going on there. Second item, I'm actually looking at a report, I apologize. I need to look at the agenda, because y'all want me talking in order of the agenda, don't you?
So B, I think we can also table.
I think so too.
That's
We're gonna have a
part five.
special meeting on that.
Yeah, I just want to mention, I'm sorry,
Mhm.
I'm not gonna be able to attend that meeting. I have a conflicting standing board meeting that night that's not in, it's over in Clearville. I can do a couple different things. I'll have somebody sit in for my office, okay? I know your financial advisor, she's here, make sure you're still here. Is probably gonna be there, right? And then you have the report from Robert, from Trent. I was looking right at you, Robert, when I said that. From Trent, about items that you can choose from, and y'all might wanna have other items too, okay? So you've got a lot of information. Your financial advisor can tell you roughly out of that bond issue what you've got to spend.
Okay.
There's a draft summary of costs. It's a draft, but it's pretty close. It's about $2.7 million out of a $3.1 million bond issue. So they kind of give you a budget to play around with, okay? And so whatever y'all decide, if you decide anything, then we can get back on the bond issue whenever you decide.
Okay.
And then once you do decide and give us clear direction, then we'll restart the bond issue, put the package together and come back to you in approximately 60 days, okay?
Okay.
When you do that. So that's kind of the outline. I apologize for the conflict.
No,
No, it's quite all right, I mean, we're doing spring in the special meeting.
Yeah, no, just don't apologize.
I would love to send somebody else to that other board meeting, but they've got candidly, some more sensitive things than you do
No,
about your
that's fine.
bond issue. Y'all have been through this before,
Yeah.
so. okay.
David, we're okay.
Okay, I apologize.
I do
Director
have a
Roberts?
recommendation that, anytime we solicit special meetings, that we send it out to the consultants that need to be in there.
It's okay,
Just so that,
Thank you.
send them
But I
out.
know y'all didn't do it in purpose to conflict.
No, I don't think it was intentional.
It's
but I
actually
think
your
it's-
attorney's fault, 'cause he needed to walk down the hall to talk to his partner. and he went, "No." Okay?
Anytime we can blame Sean.
That's right, yeah.
It's all your fault, Sean.
Yeah,
The other thing I will say just anecdotally, we're talking about the bond, and I will say TCQ is moving through bond apps quicker than I've
They
ever
are,
seen.
they are.
Oh,
We used to budget about 6 months.
Yep.
For TCQ review, we've been turning things around in 3, 4 months.
Oh, that's good to hear.
I got an expedited one back in a month.
Yeah, so.
I just had a surplus funds
request
I'm not sure why, but.
Wow.
We're all back to
Becca
work.
about that,
Okay,
what they're doing.
well,
over there.
Yeah.
It's efficient.
We can compress that
There's
down
just
a
some
little bit.
He just said he got one in 3 weeks.
Surplus funds have it.
Well, you're special.
You went down the hall, didn't you?
Okay, let's move on to C.
You want D or you want C?
Let's do
C.
C first.
No,
Okay,
C, please.
C, real quickly.
2 minutes.
Lisa and I, okay, Lisa and I have been talking, we put some information in your packet about, you had a study, you had an evaluation done, the evaluation came back that at some point you need to go in and repaint the interior and exterior of both the hydro tank, which is the small cylindrical one, and the ground storage tank. I think the estimate was about 3 to 5 years, and hot inspection reports in the packet. I apologize for adding more paper. So I put together a memorandum on that, in my updated cost estimate, which is, it's continuing to go higher. We have actually bid 2 repainting, significant repainting projects, a 300,000 and a 400,000 gallon tank within the last several months. So I'm kind of drawing from that information. We have to take the tanks down to do that project too. That's not something you would normally do in the spring and summer. It takes some advanced work on our end to get the plans and specifications ready to go out to bid, because it's over $75,000 you have to bid. But you bid it, usually it's a good time to kind of put those together out for bids September-ish, October-ish, because the painting companies get that work lined up to do it during the winter. Not only for you, but for everybody in the state. Okay, we want to get on their schedule. They would start something around November, December, when our demands, it takes 60 to 90 days to get it done, and you're finished, everything's back online in the spring. If you, down the road, not tonight, but if you're ready to get us going on that front end stuff, we can talk about a couple months out from that. So if it's okay, I'd like to kind of bring it back to you maybe early summer, to get going. We could push most of that budget money, we push into next fiscal year too. I know you've got some allocated for this year, maybe you could add to it next year. And maybe I'll have some better cost estimates too for you, because we'll probably be involved in a couple of other projects too.
Okay, thank you.
FYI.
So, we did budget that was very good, $500,000, last year for it, and you said it's probably gonna be more than that.
Yes, ma'am.
I think your timing is about right. If y'all haven't had a chance to review that report, it's actually pretty interesting, there's pictures there, it really is. And it was done last year with a 3 to 5 year,
Yeah.
so if we do it next year, next fiscal
About
year.
2 years off, yeah.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
right in the expected,
Very
see
good.
of it, so,
Yeah,
okay.
thank you for that detailed report in there, David, it was very helpful.
It
Well,
really was.
I didn't mean to be too wordy or put a bunch of stuff you may have already seen, but I thought was some
No,
good
that was
background.
helpful.
And I appreciate Lisa bringing that to my attention. I would love to have her get it done next week, but I've heard she's busy cutting trees.
Just pick it up brush.
Okay, D.
D, I put together, some information on that, mainly, an observation of some data that I garnered from the city, put the city report in there. First one, I had a chance to visit a little bit about it, and I applaud the district's involvement in that process. It's been pretty much about individuals, not as district board members. I'm actually think it's a good idea that y'all continue the level of involvement, and I know y'all are gonna talk about that. The only thing that I have to add to it, one, reinforce that I don't know if you can get some of the things you want into the zoning ordinance, because there's a resistance by cities to put too much detail in zoning ordinances, okay? You do want to see those things taken care of in the site plan process, but the site plan processes, I think we've discussed, as it go to council.
Right.
Okay, but it's just something to keep in mind when you're having your discussion. I would urge you to push as much as you can. So if you don't get it, so it doesn't mean it's not gonna happen, it just, because there'll be a record of it. The second thing is, there was the comment from the young man who was here earlier, how the owners of this, and I don't understand the structure of that company, but it's kind of occurred to me that they were saying the owners walked around another project in Colony, and were picking up things, and I think there was a question from somebody about what was the proximity of that development to surrounding.
Director Roberts asked that.
Yeah, well, I pulled it up on Google Earth, I cheated, and there's not a residence within a mile of that thing. The Colony is just parking lot. And there's a major 121 expressway on the side, one side, there's a road that rivals New Hope on the other side, it's parking on all four sides, it's more stores on the other side of that. Not to say that he misled you, I just want to point out that it is very different, in my opinion, that what they're doing there, that is essentially right up against residential areas.
Right.
Okay, and to compare it to what was done, I'm sure they've done a great job in Colony, I'm sure they'll do a great job here, but it is a different impact on your community than it may have been. There wasn't anything that Colony was developed, okay, it was just, it's a big commercial.
Okay, great. So, I appreciate talking to you the other day, and I appreciate your information in the packet. What I would like to do is make a motion. Director Shoemaker and myself were both at the city council meeting. We both stated that we were on the board, but we also said that we were not representing the board. We said we were there as just residents. The mayor pointed out very quickly that I lived in the ETJ. I was not a citizen of the city. I would like to make a motion that Director Shoemaker and myself sit on an ad hoc subcommittee, so we can go to the meeting tomorrow night and say, if you all agree, we are representing the board, and here are our concerns about this. So that's my motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
I think it's great, I have no issue with it, but I do wanna, and maybe we can add this to your motion, do a resolution to the city of
Yes.
Cedar Park that says, here's what we're asking for the city council to consider, and it goes to the mayor, goes to every city council member and the city manager.
Yeah, it's just another step in it,
We've
so I
done it
agree.
before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. The one question, okay, let's vote on this real quick. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I just wanna know when this is gonna end. If this doesn't happen, this development doesn't happen, and then we got another development coming.
No, this is just for this
just for
development, yeah.
for the one thing.
Specific for Nebraska.
So it expires at that point, so I am in favor of that.
Okay.
Aye.
I was saying, it's gonna take them 2 years probably to build the FM by itself, but.
I have a question for Sean, and that is if Director Roberts or Director Young, I've been saying Roberts and thinking both of you, if they would like to attend the council meeting, they can, just as residents, right? So if all four of us show up, that's okay.
Correct.
Okay, good.
As long as we don't deliberate.
Just don't.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
deliberate,
yeah.
but we can all, if we
Yeah,
all
I
wanna
just
go
wanna
and say
make
our
sure,
piece,
yeah.
like.
Yeah, okay, great. And
Can I also add one more comment? Can y'all run your talking points through Sean and so that they're kind of on the same page? I mean, unless you feel like you just need to represent it and maybe you don't need specific talking points.
I've already discussed it with Sean, and I
Okay.
think Shoemaker's already discussed it with Sean, and he didn't have any heartburn with it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I
it
think we
is
can
tomorrow
talk
night.
about,
Yeah.
and we can talk, I think the next step is to talk about if, what we wanna do is our position, right? Is that we've got this motion, we all voted, right? This one's.
Correct.
We
Okay.
did.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I think
And I'm
that's
sorry,
fine.
when is this tomorrow night?
Yes, it is tomorrow night.
So I can, in terms of the resolution, I know we've got a recent copy of this,
Yeah.
that's not too hard, so, why don't we plan to sync up afterwards and see what
Yeah.
that is?
Because Director Logan just signed it and then present it to them.
Yeah, so.
That's not gonna be able to happen tomorrow.
Oh, really? You
Yeah.
didn't go down the hall and get that done?
We can
Secure
certainly,
in 3 weeks, motion in 1 day.
There you
well,
go.
we can deliver it afterwards, I
Okay.
have the logistical issue
Okay.
tomorrow, so.
Well, I can go downtown sometime too, if that would help.
Yeah, we can
Okay.
figure it out. Well, certainly, I think y'all can testify and we can deliver it subsequently, you know.
I think we'll talk about the next, I guess the next piece is what we wanna have be our resolution, right? Is that, so how do we, cause I guess, are we still on, I guess, item D, I guess? So-
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of a standard
It's
document.
just a document, they
Yeah.
put it in a nice paper and
Yeah.
put a seal on it.
Cause I
Why
think
don't
that,
you get, if I don't know if you're submitting written testimony, but even if you have comments you're gonna speak off, why don't you just send those to me and I'll put them in the resolution format.
cause I think we should probably iron out, like, real quick right here, like, as a board,
Yeah.
what we want to ask for, I think, you know, so
Well,
I guess that would be, do I need to make a motion for that, or we just talk
I
about
think
it?
you should.
Okay.
Can I list the ones I had? Light pollution,
Sound.
truck noise
Mhm.
and sounds, loading docks, and then,
The barrier.
the barriers, and I think it's important to stick to that and raising the fencing, and I think we were concerned about the driveway access from the Cedar Parks Event Center. And then the traffic impact,
Traffic through Blockhouse.
yeah, the traffic that would impact, yeah, that, and then the convention and hotel and the economic development, the incentives. And whatever that thing else you said that they get.
Well, I mean, we can put that in there, we care about it, but I mean, that
That
was
doesn't really
literally,
matter, but.
yeah, I mean, cause like, that's literally if they fit in the box
Yeah,
of
right.
statute, they get the money. What jams most of these projects up, and God knows why, is they can't manage to fit the project in the box despite it being in statute. And they get it partway down building something and they come around like, well, like, does this fit in the box? And it's like, well, build it within the parameters of the law. And then like, you can get, the figurative legal box, like,
Right.
the law outlines like some stuff pretty clearly. So I mean, we can certainly say, I don't know what concern we would have on that, right?
And
But,
can you, I'm sorry.
so that was what I was saying, like, we can talk about it, but I don't know what our request, because I'm thinking if we get a resolution, like, I can think of something I want to request is that in the zoning ordinance, they include the buffer on the west side of the property.
Exactly.
That west side that faces the other undeveloped lot has that buffer in there, and that's in the zoning ordinance. And I know they can maybe change it later, but that needs to be in there.
For
from
the
the
entire
get-go.
property boundary.
Bingo, bingo.
Yeah, and didn't we do one for this development over here? We sent them to that, maybe somewhere that lines up with the one that was with this New York developer.
The resolution,
Yeah,
yeah, we
we
did
did
send
that.
in for that.
I think
I think what I said though, or I think what they said earlier is that when talking about the land uses, the buffer will delineate a difference in land uses. And without knowing what that tract is gonna look like, I don't know, I mean, certainly if I'm asked for
It's
it.
what they call common boundary between the 118 acre tract and the district boundary.
There we go.
That's what I would ask for.
Well, that
Would you
one,
like
I
it?
think they're good with, yeah, but I think you're
I'm
talking
not
about the
sure.
one that is, the boundary between the two pieces of raw land.
Bingo, I'd like to put that, to have that include the whole, their whole tract, to have that buffer around it, if they can, that zoning, and I'll be directly blunt. Yes, they will eventually develop that tract, but I have really serious concerns that once that tract is developed, if there is not a buffer, which I know they can probably change, get redone, but if there's an easy way to seamlessly connect those, I can guarantee you will have an internal driveway that runs from 183A through Cedar Park HEB Center, through the National Furniture Mart, through the property just south, and they'll connect to Blockhouse, and we will have cut-through traffic coming to access that. And that's only, if we ask for the barrier all the way around, the buffer, I mean, then at least there's at least an initial thing, the hurdle to be cleared about, okay, we gotta go back and change the zoning or whatever to get rid of that buffer when that's developed. I'm not opposed to developing, I'm opposed to linking.
Yeah.
And somehow I want you to tweak something to say to the impact that this is not a fair comparison to the colony.
Yeah.
Because of the direct residential impact. I don't know how you're gonna word that.
Proximity of existing residential development right next to their boundary, that is not what's.
And we'll
going on.
definitely say that verbally to them
Yeah, we
tomorrow.
can say that.
Yeah.
David, do you know, I'm sorry, Gray,
Yes, sir.
is the buffer, is that within the zoning designation as it's defined within the city code?
The 30 foot is, not the 40, we're asking for a 40, or that's what I was saying.
The planning and zoning committee,
Yeah,
Cedar Park asked for
Right,
the
the
40.
30 foot is in code, as well as 8 foot wall.
And maybe the communications, the point that I stated, that you just don't, like if there's gonna be something big going on, just the House Creek and snowing people.
Yeah, they're probably, so there's state law with regards to notifications.
Oh, no, they followed it to
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
T.
we're not saying that
It's
they did
200
wrong.
feet for state law.
Yeah, no, I realize they didn't
Right.
do anything they're not supposed to do. I'm
Right,
just asking
right.
them.
Yeah.
The truth is, it's gonna impact all of us.
Right, and I think some wording to the fact that we'd like to preserve the quality of life for these residents that have established their homeownership way before that land was ever sold. Just my firm little bold on that.
Okay, all right, so are we
Tell us how you
good?
really
You know,
feel.
you have your.
Aren't you very passionate?
I think
Yeah.
so.
And I was gonna say, I consider this a private citizen. One thing I did want to reiterate to the, Director Roberts, to the,
Sorry.
so that the meeting tomorrow is that, you know, I would like to have the city work with us and the landowner about the long-term management of that buffer, because, again, it doesn't have to be the zoning, but I wanna put that marker out here. Yeah.
You know, honestly, after hearing them talk, I suspect there's probably a commercial HOA. If it's
Yeah.
180.
I think there is, that's
Yeah,
typically
I think
the way
so.
it began.
And he even mentioned that, I don't even know if he was privy to it, but yeah, he seemed to say that they wanted to do that, so anyway.
And
Yeah, having something in writing long term with them, because that's, I think, is like, it's all family owned now, but Warren Buffett's not a spring chicken, and my recollection is he's promised to devote most of his assets to charity, like, we donate it out when he goes, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, that asset may be controlled in 10 years by some charitable trust that,
Chop it up.
well, not to chop it up, we're just, they may have a different attitude about how things work because they're not family owned.
Okay, so I think we have a good idea here. Can we move on?
Yeah, can we also reference that we're a valued customer of Cedar Park?
Okay,
Throw it in
23,
your face.
Crossroads.
Our packets in, behind tab 23.
Do you mean write-offs?
I don't have any write-offs. I do have a 9.21% water loss. We are keeping an eye on that. We expect for it to go down. All of your receivables look great. We sent out 314 collection letters in January. There's no issues. I did also want to provide to you guys that when we did send out the robocalls for the freeze, we did only spend $297, roughly about $156 to do that.
It was worth it.
And the emails, actually, initially, we would have paid an admin fee, but since Amy and I both work for Crossroads, we do it ourselves. So all the emails are no cost to the district.
So one point, Lisa, is I had a lot of residents I saw that were posting they did not receive the robocall. And we said, hey, make sure that your account's up to date and your phone, and they're like, yeah, it is. So maybe in our next newsletter, we put something like, hey, make sure you've got your correct cell phone number. or whatever.
I've also added that.
Did you?
I've
Okay,
also
good.
added that to the bottom of the inserted bill as well, just
Perfect.
trying to give everybody all the information we can. We've also posted on the e-sign.
Okay, yeah, okay, good deal. No write-offs, no decisions,
Good, all of your lab results have come back satisfactory, everything's good.
Okay, good. And then general manager's report.
My report is again in the packet. Again, we've been dealing with winter storms, freeze, ice stuff. We've obviously been working on the pools. We've been still trying to do, all of our, tasks that have been given to us in previous. We're moving right along.
Can I ask a question about your report? It goes with tab 27, right?
Yeah.
Somebody's getting a $14,000 refund. Can I ask, like, how that person, like, did they explain how they missed that they started having like a massive credit?
Because they
I discussed this with the subcommittee, and what I did is I actually had Crossroads Customer Service go back, and this resident, God bless them, every time they got a invoice that showed the credit, they sent in a check for it.
I mean, so like the last time, like, I mean,
They-
so like, this is like a $7,000 check.
Yes,
Oh my
I was
goodness.
shocked because I'm just wondering how much they think that water is costing these days. And they had no problem with it, but they also didn't realize it for an entire year.
Okay, I was just curious, like, what
And
the
they didn't
resident,
come to a
like,
board meeting and complain?
Yeah, I explained to
Yeah.
them, how we do our process, and he was a little upset, but at the same time, he completely understood and knew that we are gonna give him his money back, so.
well, thank you for processing. I was just curious, like, how the
Absolutely.
resident wrote a $7,000 check and
Oh,
didn't think to tell anybody.
It was 1,000, 3,000, 7,000, I mean, it was amazing.
Okay, all right,
But
thank you, Lisa.
you do have processes, or Crossroads does, to monitor these things. This is a fluke, I know that's a rare thing, but I mean, this is like a little bit more than, we should probably make sure that the county's paying attention to that.
We are, like I said, but we have, I think, something of 60+ mud districts that we manage, so we're doing a great job. We only have one.
Yeah, okay, good job.
Thank you.
23C, oh no, I'm sorry, 24C, general manager role and duties, Director Roberts.
Yeah, I just it kind of flows into the emergency, catastrophic. I just wanna make sure that the contract covers that is something that should be in there, because I mean, we're adding more and more things to it, so I just wanted to make sure that that's added as well.
We'll
So Sean, can you kind of look at that? And Lisa, you might wanna add.
I think the contract should be in the,
It is.
We intentionally, when we went back and redrafted this contract after our last revisions, the kind of basis of it all was the general manager will generally manage.
Exactly.
So, yeah, but I'm happy to give it a read and make sure we're good there.
okay. 25, report from TDS.
Their reports in the packet.
Okay, great.
I think we went a little bit too quick on that last one. I'm curious about manager role and duties. 9 to 5ing it, like, is she responsible, like, emergencies, calls are gonna happen, but is she to be taking 15 calls outside of hours every week, every month? Or like, are we gonna get that into the contract a little bit later?
I don't know if we would get down to that detail, but if y'all noticed, I had Lisa send out a couple of emails to y'all during the storm. She was getting phone calls, she was getting hounded, and I wanted us all to be respectful of her time. She was taking care of things. So, nobody should be calling Amy on her cell phone. I would ask you all, do not call the GM after hours unless it's an emergency. An emergency is a broken water line, there's the Walker House is on fire, something like that. But if there's, you know, something in the park you see, or, gosh, I'm gonna give an example, there was a deer that was hit and, the sheriff's had to come out and shoot it. You know, something like that, we don't need to call
So
you.
if-
We can always send you emails.
If Lisa goes on vacation out of cell phone and she has a backup that either goes to Andrew or a 1-800 number, but she could say like, oh, Amy's taking over this week or whatever, but other than that, there's no reason to call Amy, just like go up to Andrew and the
Yeah.
1-800 number there after Lisa kind of thing.
Yeah. I also understand there's a resident that has been trying to direct Travis, the parks guy, and that's not okay. And he has been directed by Lisa to not engage with her, so that's not all right.
I think she's the one that sent me a voicemail and I forwarded it to you
If I
yesterday.
can, I actually have spoken to that resident, and I have asked her that I am happy to receive her communication, but I would like for her to communicate with me using our website, and we're happy to take all of her emails.
Good, okay, yeah. You are so busy. We do not need to take away from your time. I do not talk to you every day. I do not email you every day. I am not micromanaging you. I trust you. You call me when you have a question, and I want to encourage the rest of the board to do the same. Okay, 26, stormwater. Anything on that?
Quiddity has the report in the packet themselves?
I think there's an approval, isn't it, or?
So, yeah, wait, y'all mind if I hop in here? I did actually talk to Kathy Mitchell on the way up here. And so this is the annual report that Quiddity does. This is their inspection pursuant to your MS4 requirements. And so you've got the results there. And on the backside, there are the recommendations, which are fairly typical. In the past, Lisa, I think Crossroads has done this, and occasionally maybe Priority has jumped in as well. Kathy suggested that that would be a perfectly fine thing to proceed with this year. I think probably what might be appropriate is when you have time, if you could just bring back a proposal for that.
Crossroads is working on it.
Okay, great,
excellent.
thank you. 27, Services Subcommittee, A, District Rekeying. I believe the last meeting, we directed Sean to write a memo, and Sean called me about that. It was my understanding, when we came out of executive, we asked Sean to write a memo. And then you and I started talking, and you had some questions. And I realized that, I asked him to put a hold on it so that the board could talk about it. And the thing is, the item that brought this up, we know who gave the key out, who gave permission, let's say, permission. And it's not just a key, it's code. So somebody didn't have to give their key out, they could have given them the code. Anybody has that. So I felt like the memo would really help us. So I guess I want us to have a discussion, and if you guys feel
So are
differently
we
about it.
talking about current board members?
No, there was a former board member that gave permission to a resident to.
Okay, the one that we talked about, okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I just was
So,
trying to
but
figure
so
out.
when Sean called me, he was asking me about the memo, and I said, well, you're gonna include the former board members. And he's like, well, I can send a separate one out. I'm like, well, this is silly. We already have identified. We were gonna send this memo out to all the scout leaders and everyone. We already know who did it. So I really don't think that we needed to spend money and your time on a memo where we already know who did the issue.
So how many combination locks are out there, do we know?
Several.
I mean, yeah, we don't know how many are out there, but we know
I
that
just
there
don't know
are.
if that's the best practice. I'm not up on my key law, but,
Well, the problem is that the main gate at Humano, there is a combination because you have people from the community gardens. And so they need to be able to go in and out.
Scouts, right?
And then the scouts.
City of Cedar Park, Crossroads.
Yeah, there are different groups
Yeah.
that do go in there.
But we have codes.
We've also,
They have their own.
and maybe we put this on the agenda, but I think we should have a discussion about all those gates. I don't know if they're really doing what they need to do.
there's been discussion about that before, yeah.
Yeah, so, we put that on the agenda for next month.
Yes.
Well, here's my thoughts. At some point in the near future, I'm hoping we have an asset management program that controls all this stuff. Lisa will be going around and finding out every different detail as she goes. And then once we get that data in there, then we can take a look at, hey, we've got all these locks. And in fact, I was out at the thing and there was a spare lock that I didn't even know what it was, you know, who it belonged to or anything. I just jammed it into the pipe, right? So this needs to be done, but let's add that to the asset management program when we populate it with data. Then we take a look at it, who has keys. Now, if we go that path, there are keys that we have that get us into the Humano Park in the back, right? There's no security camera maybe directly on there, but it's a little bit more difficult to do any damage, whereas we have a key for this building, and there's also cameras, so if somebody did have a renegade unauthorized key, they would be on camera. So if we have any assets that need better protection than just a key, we need to make sure we've got a camera on it as well, until we do get to the bottom of the, let's call it a security audit or a lock audit, and then we can have better decisions to be made at that point.
Okay, I think that's a good point. Just I want to clarify, A is about that memo, and are you all in agreement that we don't need to send the memo, or do you all feel like we really do need to send the memo?
I don't think we need to.
Okay, all right,
I concur with your decision.
Okay, good, I just didn't want to do that on my own.
Thank
B, Tomlinson Pool, guard shack, and restroom repairs.
I'm still working on trying to find a subcontractor for the sheet rocking to do the finish out. The plumbing actually was already done. I had that done on the 13th. It only cost us $282. He did mention to me that there is no insulation in that ceiling up there, which is the reason why we were having all of these leaks or pipe bustings, if you will. So we've got some work we need to do.
Okay, good, thank you. C, Trinity AV Solutions.
I don't actually have any other information. You guys approved that at the last one. I have the Brigo contract here that Mike McKelly has provided to me. I'm gonna be signing that. We're gonna get that order going so we can get going on it.
Okay, so, if I'm voting on this system and supporting it, I would like to know where all the cameras are, and I think every director should know where all the cameras are. Granted, we probably don't wanna put it in the packet for public knowledge, but would you please talk to whatever director wants to know where all the cameras are?
Absolutely.
I don't think you can vote on something without knowing everything.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we do a confidential memo, send it through attorney-client privilege? I don't know if that works, Sean. And then that way
On
it's
piece of paper.
disseminated. Yeah, that way then it's attorney-client
Yeah.
privilege, because it is a security issue.
Yeah, but directors should be able to see all that.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
think also the deputies should probably have that confidential memo.
If they want it, they can have it.
Sure.
Well, I want them to have it in case there's a kidnapping in the neighborhood. I want them to have immediate access to it and know where things are gonna happen.
I agree.
Okay, 28, Blue Ribbon Cooling and Heating.
28 and 29 are both gonna go together. I actually have had them come out to try and fix these mini splits. They are not working in working order now. We need to get them working before the heat comes, because our servers and stuff are there. So I do have 2 proposals, that I need approval on today.
Do you recommend approval?
I do.
Okay, then I'll give a motion.
Second?
Are you asking for a second or
Yes,
a
I am.
second? That's right, you're president, you don't do
Is
seconds.
30
Yeah.
go with it?
I will second.
Oh, 30 goes with it as well.
Okay, so it's, my motion is, 28, 29, and 30.
Oh, yeah, there is 30. Okay, so Robert second that. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, yeah.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, legal 31, directives?
Let's see, I think the directives, let's see. First one, draft social media policy updated, clean red line version. So that will hopefully next month. Second one was the draft letter with regards to the potential rekeying. Have it as in process, we will go ahead and remove that one.
Great, wonderful. I put 32 on the agenda. Director Young and I met with Andrew with Crossroads and talked about the GM and her role and how much she's doing. And I want us to consider, right now you have 4 districts?
With Blockhouse 5, yeah.
5 districts. And I've seen you here morning, noon, and night, weekends, nonstop. I think you're a great asset to our district. You're a great project manager. And I would like I think Andrew's gonna talk to you, and you two have a discussion, and we'll bring back to the board about having her here full-time, and so she doesn't have to worry about the other districts. Now, the con to that is that you are hearing a lot, like what's going on in this district and this district, and you can share it. But I also know that you guys have monthly meetings with all the other managers, so you can still share information. But I think that we can keep you pretty busy for quite a while. And so I'm not asking for us to vote on anything tonight, I just want you to think about it. And I want you to sit down and talk to Andrew and see what you think, and then we'll put it on the agenda for the next couple of months and see.
And Andrew Jordan, I was actually kind of taken back because I thought when we contracted that we were getting a general manager full-time. I didn't realize we were sharing with other districts.
Yeah, to go back into the agenda, I mean,
20 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Look at the contract.
So I guess I'm certainly in support of it, because I do think that we need all that focus here. It's a little hard when you're split in different ways, so I think it's a great recommendation.
Yeah, the best thing I can say right now about Lisa is I couldn't even tell that she was working for other districts. She was out here on Saturdays. She was juggling, like she had so many things going on. I think that, new board coming on, there were some questions, and I think those questions have been answered. I love working with Lisa. I want her to be the GM Monday through Friday, 8-hour work week for each day. Let her focus on the other districts when she goes to her monthly meeting or whatever, but just let her focus on our district alone. And one of the things that Lisa does is she negotiates all of our contracts for us. Well, this is the exception. We're gonna have to negotiate it outside of her realm, but I would like for all of us to look into getting a proposal from Andrew, and then perhaps getting her, and just over time move those other districts out of her control. But it will take some time. It's not gonna be sign a contract and then move on.
Okay, so there's no decision tonight, so you wanna put that to informational. Okay, 33, meeting decorum and director engagement with consultants. So meeting decorum I already shared, and that's like the side conversations, because it really is picked up on the owl. And if you guys, hopefully you're watching them, it's really valuable for me to watch them, because I'm like, oh yeah, we're talking about that, or, some people don't like to see themselves on there, so they don't watch it, but. Director engagement with consultants, and this is something I think has been an issue for many, many years, and I think we're all in agreement. We want to treat every single one of our consultants with respect, and I don't want to have a hostile work environment between the directors. I don't want a hostile work environment with our GM, with our deputies, with Trip, any of them. So I think part of that is let's really watch how we're communicating with consultants, with each other. And if it's best to send an email rather than call, always pause. But I want us all to take this to heart a little bit. And I will also share this with Director Johnson.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I agree with that.
Thank you. 34, subcommittee role and authority to act on behalf of the district. Director Roberts.
So I'm gonna leave that to Sean, just on how subcommittees have the authority, because I think sometimes we're outside of the parameters, we don't realize it, but we can only do what the board has authorized the subcommittee to do. We don't just get carte blanche to go make decisions.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Sean, you wanna kind of talk a little bit about that?
I'm not sure I have too much more to add. I mean, if you have a specific example, I'm happy to opine on something. I know that, between our last meeting and this meeting, we kind of had a historic storm, so I think lines do get blurred in those instances. So I think generally the power of the subcommittee is a limited one. I will say that. But I'm happy to opine if there's a particular situation that has come up as to whether or not the subcommittee has authority to act. The bottom line is the subcommittee has whatever powers the full board gives them.
So we did have an unprecedented weather event, and it was a health and safety matter. And the Parks Committee did do a few things. I talked to Sean, it was health and safety was driving it. So if anybody thinks that we stepped out of line, please share.
I don't think this is about any specific subcommittee, so I didn't mean for this to go personal. I just think overall, because we have new board members, that they understood exactly what the role of the subcommittee is. Because I mean, it doesn't mean we can go out because I'm on, you know, the communication, I can go broadcast something out there. And the good thing is, and I would love to see the board do this, is go into a general manager operated district versus you know, board member.
I think we are going that way.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but.
Absolutely.
But we're relying so much on subcommittees, and subcommittees, I think, sometimes have a tendency to go, oh, well, I think you should do this.
Well, I haven't experienced that. Like I said, I don't even talk to Lisa that much. And I absolutely, every time you come to me, you have an idea. I have
It's
to have a
not
concern
personal
here.
at all.
Now, I'm not taking it personally. I'm just trying to share with you why I think we are moving towards a general manager led. And we haven't. We've had a big problem with micromanaging. I'm sorry, Dr. Young. And we're not doing that anymore.
Well, I
Right.
hope we're not, yeah. So-
Yeah.
So incidents happen, we're all still kind of learning here, but, one of my frustrations and one of the positives and one of the negatives of what's happened, I'm on the park subcommittee, trying to get brush cleanup going on and all of that, but I'm also on the communications subcommittee. So, I wanted to have a blast to the residents, hey, help, we're gonna be, you know, you can pick up around the loop, if, you know, there were people that wanted to help out, even though that wasn't their responsibility. I had a lot of people coming through, wanted to do a blast. And then, on the communication subcommittee, where this would be communicated, there was hey, we need to have a waiver. If anybody wants to pick up and help out on there, so, you know, that was good.
Yeah.
Now, the problem was, after that waiver was resolved, it was published to go and do that, then the communications subcommittee put on hold the parks subcommittee plan to move forward. Hey, let's go ahead and get this moving, and it caused an extra day of delay where we could have had more people participating. But does the communication subcommittee have the ability to hold a park subcommittee from doing their functions? I mean, I appreciate good advice, let's sign the waivers, but I'm concerned that it was an overstep to hold the parks business because they needed to communicate. What can you say about that?
I don't know. It was not that I don't know what to say, it's that I don't think there's a real answer to get there. You know, the communications subcommittee, you know, these rules aren't written down for the rest of the subcommittee. And usually purview of the communication does go through communications. In terms of a delay, you know, and I, quite frankly, Robert, I don't know that we've had the hypothetical before. But I think that's something that the board can certainly talk about, and, you know, in this instance, would your thought be that the parks subcommittee would communicate independent of the communication subcommittee in a time of emergency?
Well, that they would have access to the GM to do the communication. I think that the parks subcommittee should have been able to move forward and with advice like, hey, well, hold on, maybe we should do that. And if the parks subcommittee is like, okay, yeah, let's hold on, then they can, but they can also be like, no, we're the parks subcommittee, we're moving forward with this, right?
And I think that's where we get blurred a little bit, because you've got this committee, you're already doing this, and then the communications is saying, let's communicate this out to the residents. So it does, that's why I think more of a GM run, to not using subcommittees so much, would be very helpful.
Right, but I believe the GM was on board with broadcasting at that point without waiting an extra day for clarification.
But
And-
I just wanted the role of what the authority is, the subcommittees, just to be a reminder to everybody.
You know,
It's nobody personal.
This might be a good topic to bring up in more detail at a later time when we discuss the after action on the disaster.
Yeah.
Maybe a good topic to discuss, period,
Yeah.
in a couple of months, when things have slowed down a little bit, about, I know we don't wanna be a huge rules-based behemoth like a legislative body, but you know, that's kind of the legislature, to some extent, resolves some of these issues with subcommittees, right? They tend to outline, delineate, like, this subcommittee shall do this is their purview, right? And then delineates what they're in charge of. So that's what that means. I don't know if we wanna go there, but it's something to consider, but I think this is a good discussion for like another meeting, to really get the details.
Two quick thoughts. From a policy perspective, I don't know that you want to formulate basic policy based upon experiences that occurred during a time of disaster, what have you. But I think to your point, during a time of disaster, whether it's subcommittee administration or otherwise, look to the GM for guidance.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you decide X, we'll follow that.
You hear
I don't know
that?
who said that.
Who was it said that?
David Gray. Okay, 35, dates for a board member workshop.
So special meeting is scheduled to occur 2 weeks from tonight. I don't know if that's the workshop or not. Well, that's you.
It is.
It is, okay. Pleasant reminder, we try to keep the agendas for the special meetings clean. So.
Don't add on.
Yeah, well, don't plan add.
That's very, very smart, because y'all, it starts turning into a 30.
I'm just gonna do this
agenda
approved,
item.
yeah, okay. Code of ethics, I don't think we have anything on that. Miscellaneous board subcommittee directives, I don't think we have anything on that. Stop me if I'm moving too fast. Review of meeting notes. Robert?
Don't get too excited, I've got a couple things to discuss on number 39, but review of meeting notes.
We really should have review meeting notes always the last agenda item.
That's what I thought, yeah.
But so let's flip it.
Yep.
And let me talk to future board meetings, agenda items.
Okay.
So one of the things that I've learned as a director and even as a resident, you see a little blurb on the agenda item and you don't really know what it is. And for instance, park rules were up for, and then nobody really knew. People were being defensive against different things. What I would ask of the board members and maybe even of Denise as we put requests on there, put a little explanation that could go down into the packet materials so that we have an idea of where that director's going, so we can kind of prepare for what's going on. Maybe a little criticism of the rules. I did that the second meeting, when we did that, I kind of like outlined all that information, but I'd like to do that. Maybe we can give a directive to Denise that when we do ask for something, if there's nothing in there that she asks, and then if we get to the meeting, there's still no packet info, we'll be like, hey, is there a reason why you didn't do that? And they're like, no, I wanted to surprise you guys. But I'd like that, number one. And then number two, I have spent so much time scrolling through the packets, trying to find different things. I'll get a report for 50 pages, I don't know where to stop and start. If we had, when the packet's published, when we go item number 34, that could be, this is gonna be covered under these PDF pages 29 and 30, or whatever it is, but.
Is the PDF packet not indexed like some of the like some PDFs are, it's got
No,
chapters?
not indexed.
Would that be a difficult thing, Sean, to ask Denise? And the answer is yes, but just throwing that as like a potential solution.
Are you trying to get me killed?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine, that's why I'm asking, because I don't normally make big long PDFs, but I didn't know.
No, I will tell you that is a product. Not every legal assistant in our firm does that, but many do. I'm happy to look into it.
Yes, please do.
But my question still remains.
I understand, but if it's a matter of like getting some assistance to help do that, I'm not trying to make Denise's job harder, like this.
Yeah.
Well, Denise can have somebody do it. You can probably have like a group of.
It's
Don't you have
$300
insurance?
an hour?
Denise can get somebody to do it.
I was gonna
Not an
say.
attorney, a
I got it,
clerical
Denise
person.
is 300, I mean,
No.
what's her rate?
No, she's not 300 an hour.
No, but I think
No,
She's close to it.
I'm still saying,
Close to it.
you can have a clerical person go and do this PDF.
Well, we can at least investigate it.
I could do it. Yeah.
I'm sorry, investigating.
Just let us know if it's easily done, if it's gonna cost us more or less, I'm not, we can.
I spend a lot of time scrolling, I imagine all you guys read it as thoroughly as I do, so.
This is why I get
it'll-
written copies.
Well, the other thing is, even if you're a resident, right, sometimes like there's stuff in the packet that
printed,
comes out
not written.
electronically, right? That misses the print cutoff, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why, so those are good points.
Okay, review the meeting. No, we need
No,
to
we gotta
review the
do
meeting notes.
Okay.
Item number 2, Boy Scouts approved 4-0.
I have that, yes,
Item number 3, the minutes approved 4-0, assuming Sean
with corrections.
did the corrections.
Yeah.
That's amended, okay. Item 4, OA event approval, we only approved the kite and the shred events.
Yes, 4-0.
Approved 4-0. Payment of bills approved 4-0, that's
Yeah.
item 13A. Item 19A, Playscape, was approved.
Yep.
That's for the, fixing.
4-0.
Yes, 4-0. Now, we had a unique situation, new to me. Item number 20, we had a sub-motion or
You don't have to worry about
Yeah,
the,
don't do that.
just do
your
the
action.
motion that passed.
Your
Okay.
action.
Because that'll show up in the meeting minutes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Meeting,
that
meeting
makes,
that
that
passed.
makes good sense, okay. So the Logan motion was approved 4-0.
And 19B, I think, was tabled, Robert.
Yeah, 19B was tabled, he was all on 20
I
though.
put my packet in.
And 19A was.
19A was approved, that was the playscape.
A approved that, and 19B was tabled.
Okay.
Yeah.
Item 21, approved, I don't forget what that one was.
4-0, that was the electrical panel for the pool.
Item 22, ad hoc subcommittee for development, that's approved 4-0. It's gonna be Ursula and David.
Shoot.
It doesn't
Yeah.
matter, yeah, just
Yeah,
approve.
sorry.
Yeah, he's
And then we added items 28, 29, 30, that was also approved,
Let me
4-0.
correct that, 28 actually is not an estimate, that was just a checklist, so we only need approval on 29 and 30.
Okay,
Thank you.
29 and 30. And what did I miss?
That's it.
Motion to adjourn.
Do you
I
ask
second.
Denise,
You second it?
Not yet.
do you ask Denise to move, review meeting notes to the very end of the?
I've already got it.
Okay,
Thank
yeah,
you, Sean.
all right, adjourn.
That was the second.
I seconded.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank y'all.
All right.
Thank you.